There we go. Should be working now. Can you hear me all right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Oh, still no audio on. There we go. Okay, we should be good to go. Still no audio. So there is audio on YouTube, but there is no audio on TikTok. Testing, no. I'm gonna restart the live on YouTube, or on TikTok rather. Because I know what happened. Alright, y'all, please, thank you for being so patient. I know exactly what happened. Yeah, no, I know you got me on YouTube. It's just a matter of getting TikTok all set up. TikTok can be a finicky bitch. Bring that mic a little bit closer. All right, start virtual camera, should be, let's just, not available. What do you mean not available? Add, no. Add a microphone. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can hear me anyway. Let's just set it up like this, that's fine. We should be good on TikTok, I think. Sorry, y'all. Do you pick your nose? No. If God made men, why is there still dirt? Great question. I mean, it's not really a great question, but no, it's a fine question. Do we get the same level of idiocy with Theist in this chat as what goes on in Ian's streams? It depends. It actually seems that I don't get, I don't, which is kind of a bummer, all things considered. Is my audio synced with my mouth, by the way? Who hurt me? Nobody hurt me. Any big scientific breakthroughs in plantology this week? Yes, we discovered plants. Do you know what believers have done to atheists historically? Yes, I do. All right, we're good to go. So let's just now that the live is getting started, open up the control room. There we go. I am kind of like being finicky, but it's fine. What are your thoughts on the fine structure constant? It's a number. Definitely a number. Yeah, YouTube's audio-visual will be synced, but TikTok's might not be because I'm feeding the audio through TikTok and the video through OBS. So, you know. Any thoughts on the pyramid radar discovery? Well, from what I've heard, it's nonsense. So, you know, not too much to worry about, I don't think. Yeah, sin is sometimes awesome. I have a logical argument for why the universe exists. Not a theist, though. Interested? I mean, come join my Discord server and talk about it there, but not for this live stream, no. What's my favorite food? So I've been on an Indian kick lately. All right, we got a guest. Let's bring him up.
Hey, what's up?
Big Mac, how's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
It's going all right. What God do you believe in, and how are you going to convince me of it?
I mean, I'm on the path of believing myself. I was reading a medical case recently. I've always been a non-believer, but came to believe like the old Virgin Mary story could have been true, and it's been dabbling me down the path of belief recently.
What medical research were you reading that led you to believe that the Virgin Mary story might be true?
There's a really unique anomalous case out. Do you know where Lesotho is?
Lesotho? Yeah.
Inside South Africa, landlocked country. There was a
Yep.
really unique case, 88, 89, that happened. Google Lesotho miracle birth, and that would give you a leeway
Lesotho?
into my stance of believing.
Well, so let's say, oh yeah, I've heard about this one. The knife fight that impregnated somebody. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, she didn't have the anatomy to actually give birth. They were wondering why she had abdominal pains. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what does that have to do with Christianity?
It just goes to prove that the Virgin Mary story could have been true. She was just a whore.
Oh. Okay, so you're not on your way to believing.
No, that's I don't disbelieve anyone. I think that there's proof in everything. So if you could prove the Virgin Mary story was true, we're going to use that case as an example. You could come across.
Are you on your way to believing in a god?
I mean, do you think, what's the old story about the burning acacia bush? They were hallucinating. I mean, there's a story for it all.
Okay,
It's just
so you're an atheist.
stories. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying
it does say opposition only.
Whore, and you need to talk about that more.
I don't need to go around calling women whores. It's actually fine. You have no girlfriend. Changed my mind. My wedding ring with my wife seems to disagree. Hey, a true atheist doesn't have to broadcast your non-beliefs. I also don't subscribe in superstitious BS. Broadcasting your befiff. So a true Christian doesn't have to proselytize? Is that what you're saying? I can get a working Cash App for Dr. Blitz. I'll donate $50 for the mods to the mods. There is a Cash App that works. Buy Me a Coffee also works. Howdy, howdy. My day's doing okay. A friend left town. It is true. You're right. I don't have a girlfriend. That's right. I have a wife. I have a partner who is a woman. A very beautiful woman. Do you study theology in free time? I don't have free time. When are we getting Blitz merch? Probably... I don't know. If this ever becomes a full-time thing, which I hope it won't, then you'll get Blitz merch because I'll need the money, but not until then. How about that? Why is this such an important topic for me? Well, look at the United States and who it's being run by. That's why. Why spend this time on layman beliefs instead of reading scholars? Because it's fun. Q-Top defeated me. Q-Top couldn't cook a hot pocket in a microwave. Did you get married in a church? No, I did not. You don't have to believe, but you also don't have to be condescending to believers. This says, I'm an atheist. Can you convince me to believe in your God? Where's the condescension? I know Dart's talking shit. I told him, so I was in his live in the comments yesterday. He said, in between calling me names, because he was having a conversation, I showed up. He stopped the conversation to berate me in the comments. In between calling me names, he said that, you know, he was like, when are you going to come up and level the playing field? And I'm like, look, I'll come up if you promise not to ban or not to kick or mute me. And he refused to do that. So, like, he's not interested in a debate. He just wants revenge. Have you ever been truly loved while being unconditionally yourself? I mean, I would think my wife does. Greetings. Why are you atheist, first of all? Because it seems like that there's not a God. Do you value fun with laymen more than pursuing the truth? Everybody needs a way to chill out and relax. Not everybody can be fully on the academic path all the time. How do you justify morality under an atheistic materialist framework? I don't know what there is to justify. We have moral positions. Well, I don't think it is God, because she's an atheist too. Oh, by the way, remember to like the live, y'all. We need to get more people in here. I'm surprised that there's no guests. Do you believe in science such as the Big Bang Theory? Yeah, but probably not what you think. Probably not what you think it is. Trying to reconnect. If energy cannot be created or destroyed, then how does it exist? That statement that you learned in high school is not really true. Let's check the YouTube queue. Nobody's in the YouTube queue. Do you believe in the sun? Oh, that's not for me. Do you dream? Yeah, sometimes. Why shouldn't us atheists broadcast our lack of belief? Christians do it all the time. Zero, how's it going? No, you're not Zero, you're Mike Hunt. Oh, I see what you did there. Fuck.
Hey.
You got me. All right, what do you believe?
I'm not really into all that hokey nonsense.
You just wanted to get me to say your name, and you did it. He did it. I've been had. I read it too fast. I've been had. Oh well. All right, we have another guest. It is an doctor, by the way, right? It is an excellent prank name. I will absolutely give you that. All right, let's talk to SpongeBob. This is the first time I've actually fallen for that. SpongeBob, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What do you believe in? And how are you going to convince me of it?
I believe in God.
Which one?
Which one?
Yeah.
Which one are you referring to?
Whichever one you believe in.
Well, you're the one that asked. Yeah, you asked the question.
Yeah, I asked.
What question?
I asked you. So I asked you what you believe in. You said God. I just want clarification. Are you like a Christian?
In your God.
Are you like a Christian? Are you like a Muslim? Are you a Hindu? A Shinto? Like I just want to know what because God is kind of vague, right?
How is God vague? Where does the word God come from?
Comes from German, Gott, which comes from Old German, Gut, which comes from Proto-Indo-European Gut, something like that, which means something like a libation.
Was coined Greek before German?
The word God doesn't come from Greek.
I didn't say it did. I asked, was coined Greek before German?
Yeah, probably.
Did Irish come before German?
I don't know.
I'm going to go call me kind for Tommy Gregor. I'm Irish. I'm native.
So are you Irish Catholic?
The Irish language is older than English.
Okay. Are you Irish Catholic?
Irish, we have a word for God.
Are you Irish Catholic? Okay. What God?
No.
Are you a Christian?
I believe in the God of the Bible.
Okay, so you're a Christian.
No.
Do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead?
Yes, that's a believer.
So you're a Christian.
A believer.
Why are you afraid to say that you're a Christian?
I'm not afraid. I denied the word Christian. That's
a Christian is somebody who believes that Jesus is the Messiah and believes that Jesus rose from the dead. That's just what you are.
No, a Christian is what people, atheists, non-believers, called people who acted like Christ. Christian means a Christ-like or mini-Christ. It means that they behaved as Christ did. And that's why the first Christians or believers were called Christians. But Christian now means a religious person. It's a person who follows a religion, Catholicism.
Which you do.
But all religions are false. They're all false.
You follow a religion.
I don't follow any. No.
Do you believe in the Trinity?
All religions turn people.
Do you believe in the Trinity?
And I want to explain my experience. I was raised religious, and it turned me away from God when I was 16. And I hated God, and I wouldn't mind. I was so holy before that. I so believed before that. But then when I discovered I discovered the truth about religions, but I didn't fully understand it. Only now as an adult I do. And it turned me so much against God because they're hypocrites, they're liars, they're abusers, they're thieves, they gather wealth. It's disgusting. And so
okay, that's great. Do you believe in the Trinity?
The Trinity in, what do you mean?
Do you believe that Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God are all one God, but three separate persons?
No, they're all one.
Okay, so you believe in the Trinity. You're a Christian. You accept the Nicene Creed. Like, I don't know why this is so hard.
No, No, Catholics believe that Jesus is separate from God. And
Do you believe that Jesus is identical to God, the Father?
Identical?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so does God the Father have a physical body? Did God the Father die?
No.
Okay, so did Jesus the Son die?
The flesh died, yes.
Did God the Father ever have flesh?
Yes.
Oh, when?
The Word made flesh.
Wait, so that was God the Father, not Jesus?
Jesus was the Word made flesh.
Okay, did God the Father ever have flesh?
In Jesus.
I'm asking about the Father, not the Son. Did the Father ever have flesh?
God is a spirit.
Can you answer? It's a yes or no question.
Because that's silly. It's like...
I mean, I agree it's silly, but it's your belief system. Can you just tell me whether you believe God the Father ever had a body?
I do. Jesus.
So, wait, so Jesus is God the Father?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, did God Father himself?
Did God Father himself?
Yeah.
God created man. God created Jesus, yes.
Oh, okay. So, but Jesus is identical to God the Father, right?
I don't know what you mean by identical.
That there are no distinguishing properties.
Well, there are, because one is spirit, one is flesh.
Right. So they are not identical, which means that there are three separate persons in one divine godhood. That's what's usually said anyway.
Two persons. You may not believe we have a soul, but let's say you do. Are you two persons? Oh no, I do. I'm a person and I have a soul. Do I have a split personality because I have a person and a soul? One is a spirit, physical.
But that's because you don't think that your body has a mind.
No, we're not talking about mind. We're talking about soul. There's three parts.
We're talking about person. No, we're talking about persons.
Yes, well, define person.
An agent, a being with a mind.
No. The point being, you're talking about the Trinity. So we'll call the Trinity your spirit, your mind, and your body, or your flesh. Okay, that's three parts to a person. That's what I believe. And are you saying...
So that's partialism, by the way. That'll send you straight to hell.
Okay. Well, can I ask one question? So
sure.
If I believe that I have a spirit, a mind, and a body, does that mean I am three persons?
No, because a person is a being with a mind, and so only one of those things has a mind. The mind.
Well, No.
No?
No.
Do you disagree with the definition, or?
I think you do.
Well, I'm telling you the definition that I'm using.
Okay, define spirit, mind, and body, and connect them together as one person that's not a
Well, I don't believe in spirits, so.
But you know
I can tell you what a mind is, and I can tell you what a body is.
I don't believe in Hinduism, but I know what it means. I don't believe.
Yeah, so a spirit is some sort of essence. It's usually very vaguely defined anyway. Nobody ever gives a strict definition, but it's some sort of essence. And then mind is the conglomeration of rational. Sorry?
What's your thinking? Okay, so your mind is your thinking. Your body is your...
Why did you interrupt me when I was telling you what my definition of mind was?
I'm sorry.
It's a conglomeration of your rational ability and your memories. And perhaps your emotions as well. And then your body is, of course, this stuff.
I would say your body is to do with emotions, really, because that's where you feel them. But anyway, yeah, I agree.
Okay, your
your
mind is the only thing with your mind is the only part with a mind, so it's not three persons.
Okay, so you believe in two. There's
No.
a mind and a body.
Yeah, but
That's
not
fine.
two persons, because, well, I think
They're
that the
not two
mind is just
persons.
part of the body. So like, I don't even have this like duality issue. But even under the view where like you have mind and body as like kind of separate things, the body doesn't have a mind. The mind has a mind, and so there's still only one person. The person is the mind,
How is the mind?
not the body.
How is the mind? How is the mind separate from the brain, or is it?
I don't think it is.
Okay, so you're talking about the brain.
I am, but not under your worldview. You do think it's
No,
separate,
not
presumably.
use your words. Okay, so there's a brain and a body,
Mm-hmm. The brain is part
and
of the
that's
body.
okay. There's a brain and a body, and that
No, the brain is
what
part of the body. There's just a body.
I'm sorry. Okay, there's okay. Okay, gotcha. So, okay, so how is that different to a cat?
What? How is what different to a cat? Cats also have brains and bodies.
And how is how is a human being different?
We're a different kind of animal.
True. So is that the only difference?
I mean, essentially, yeah. That it's a pretty big difference that we're a completely different animal. Different animals have vastly different features from one another.
True. So what's the biggest difference between a human and a cat?
Probably our size.
Wow, but we're not the largest animal. So
Well, no, but we
what's the
are way
biggest
bigger than
difference?
cats.
So what's the biggest difference between a blue whale and a cat?
Probably the
The
size.
size. The
Yeah.
size.
Because if
Why?
you're asking for the biggest
Why?
difference, that is going to be the biggest difference.
You're taking that so literally. Do you have autism?
How do you want me to take it?
Do you have autism?
Do you have, I don't know, stupidity? Like, what kind of a question is that?
Because you took my question so literally. That's what
You
people who
asked a
have
dumb
autism-
question. I'm going to answer it in a dumb way.
It's not a dumb way to answer. It's a literal way to answer it.
No, it's a funny way to answer.
Might be funny, sense of humor. That's subjective, but it's literal. Let's call a spade a spade. To be not literal, I'm sorry. Shouldn't use an analogy.
So why do you believe in God?
Anyway, the point being, are human beings different? No, are human beings different to animals?
Human beings are animals.
Okay. So, human beings are animals. Wow, that's a really depressing thought.
Why is that
Human
depressing?
beings are animals. Does that mean so we're depressing? Because that means we don't have a soul. That means
Why
we
is
don't
that
have a spirit.
depressing?
We don't have. Why? Because that means we don't know right from wrong.
How does that follow?
Because our moral compass comes from our spirit. Our
That's an
conscience.
assertion. I don't think that's true.
It doesn't come from. Okay, fine. Explain to me where our conscience comes from, physically in the brain. Yeah. Explain to
Yeah,
me
it comes from
what part of the
neurons.
brain is responsible for unconscious. Okay, explain. No,
Generally, the
explain to me-
prefrontal cortex. There is a specific part, and I can look up. It starts with an N. I can look it up for you.
Yeah.
There is a specific part, and it starts with an N.
You Googling the
It's
answer?
in the
Google
cerebral
the
cortex.
answer.
That's what it is. It's the thalamus. Sorry, I can't say these
You
things.
Google the
It's the
answer. then.
yeah, I did. Because I'm not a
did?
biologist. I'm a physicist. It's the thalamic nuclei.
If you're a physicist, you should know more.
A physicist should know more about biology.
No, about human beings.
Why?
'Cause you should be intelligent enough to apply that knowledge in physics to other.
What do you think I'm doing right now? It's called using resources that are accessible. You have a problem with like not knowing things and then learning things?
Not knowing things. No, why?
So then why do you have a problem with me looking up something that I didn't know?
I don't, but I'm saying that your point came from a lack of knowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't know what the name of the brain structure was called. However, I had read in the past that there was a brain structure that's been identified as this roughly the source of consciousness, if you will.
It just
I
means
don't know why you have an issue with that.
because you made a point without knowing.
No, but I did know. I had read this in the past. I just didn't remember the
That's
name of the brain
awful.
structure.
Well,
So why don't you tell me why you believe in God?
why?
Yeah.
Well, God proved himself to me. That's why.
How?
How?
Mm-hmm.
In baptism. Sweet.
In baptism? So what happened?
What happened?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I worked with Christians for a year. I was an atheist, a staunch atheist, and I used to go home from work every day really angry. And I did it because I needed the money, whatever. But I used to go home really angry, all the stuff, and I hated it. And I lived with atheists, and that was good because I could talk to them, whatever. But the point being, I had an eating disorder at the time, anorexia, and I was hospitalized twice for people claiming I was underweight, but I didn't believe it that I was. Anyway, eventually I went to, I couldn't make it to work one day. My head was so busy, I kept going to the front door. Anyway, I could not, my mental health was so bad that day I couldn't go to work. Eventually I got to work before lunchtime, and my boss said to me, listen, this is, you can't come to work, like this is a bad thing. And I said to him, I explained how I felt. I said, my head is so busy, I wanted to go to work this morning.
Wait, what does any of this have to do with God?
Because he said, do you want to get baptized? And I said, okay. And he said, I promise you, baptism will free you from all that. And I said, okay. I did not believe that was true. I didn't even believe in God.
Okay, so what is this? So what happened?
Fast forward a few hours later, I went to his house with his wife. They baptized me in a bath. They prayed for me to be free from the eating disorder. And I felt the left side of my brain kind of swelling, getting really like swelling. And then that stopped. Then I also repented of control. I felt like I had a control issue. And they prayed for me to be free from control. My face felt like it was burning to the point that I touched my cheek and I was like, wow, this is really hot. But it wasn't hot. It was in my head. I don't know. It felt hot, but not my hand didn't feel my, anyway. And that was fine. So anyway, fast forward, the following day, I woke up and I'll never forget this. I woke up and I could hear the birds singing. I've often heard about people saying birds sing in the morning, but I realized at that moment, I'd never actually heard them. Normally what happened was I'd wake in the morning, I had to be busy, this voice, that voice, this voice, this voice, whatever.
So, sorry, so what does any of this have to do with God?
Because I looked in the mirror that morning and I could see a really skinny person. Whereas the day before, I thought I was chubby.
Sorry, what does any of this have to do with God?
Because I then sat down at the table and I had a bowl of cereal, which I normally wouldn't eat because I had a battle eating food. And I looked
Again,
up.
what does any of this have to do with God?
What is the left side of the brain responsible for? And the left side of the brain was responsible for perception. And that's how I know my perception was skewed. I was
Sorry,
freed
what does any of this have to do with God?
because God freed me from that.
How do you know?
Because how else was I freed from that?
There could be 100 different causes. Have you accounted for any of the other ones?
Like what?
You could have had a stroke. You could have had a brain aneurysm you could have had an anoxic brain injury from the baptism. Aliens could have come and shot like a mind curing ray into your brain. You could have accidentally fell asleep during the baptism and you dreamed it all. There's 100 different possible explanations. Have you considered any of them?
None of those make sense. I'm sorry. That's not.
But a
the
God makes sense?
Even the serendipity of it alone makes no sense. Don't be silly.
Wait, but a God makes sense.
Yes. Well, it didn't beforehand. To me, listen. I know where you are. I totally agree.
I suspect not.
Agree. No, I know where you are. Listen to me. I was a staunch atheist for years.
Probably not a very thoughtful one.
I was, and I thought I was smarter, and I said all the stuff.
Look, so what's the best argument for atheism then, or what's the best argument against Christianity? If you were, prove your stripes.
Well, I think a person has to experience something personally to believe. That's my belief.
Well, no, if you were an
I think
atheist,
that's
what would have been your strongest argument against Christianity while you were an
I think-
atheist?
I think a person. No, there is none. No
Okay,
one could
so
have
either you're
argued
being
against
dishonest or
it.
you were never really an atheist.
Oh, I promise you, I was an atheist.
So
But
then,
no,
at the time, what would you have said was your best argument against Christianity?
against Christianity.
Yeah.
What's my best argument against Christianity? What's my best argument against? All right, give me a second. It takes a while now. It's been a while. What was my best argument against Christianity? Probably. I probably would have said lack of evidence. Yeah, I probably would have said lack of evidence. Also, I probably would have blamed the Catholic religion. Yeah, it's hard to remember. It's a long time ago. But it's not even that long time ago, but it's hard for me to switch from knowing what I know now to knowing what I knew then or thought then or whatever. Yeah. But I would say
Okay,
yeah,
and is there evidence now?
evidence. That's what I'm saying. I think it has to be a personal experience. I
So
think that's
how
what
can you
it is.
convince me to believe in your God?
I can't.
Oh, but the prompt says, can you convince me to believe in your God?
Well,
If the answer's no, then I guess we're done.
I suppose my question to you would be, why do you want me to?
Because it's an interesting question. And if it's true, I would like to know it.
Why?
Because I like to know true things.
Why do you think it's true?
Well, I don't think it's true. But if it is true, I would like to know it.
Well, why are you still searching if you think it's not true?
Because I have humility and I recognize that I can be wrong sometimes.
Well, why would you search for an answer if you already know the answer?
Because I just answered that. Because I have humility and I can be wrong sometimes.
Do you believe you're wrong now?
Absolutely, I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking you to convince me.
Michael, I love that you want to be convinced. That's a good thing. I was like that. I love that you want to be convinced. I did too. I searched and I antagonized people. I questioned them. I was like, I did, and they were so kind. They were so patient. They were so nice. In fairness, when I look back now, they were so nice. Yes, I hope someday that you do find your answers. I cannot provide them to you. You have to find them for yourself. I am going to tell you what God said, which is, if you seek Him with all your heart, you will find Him.
Apparently not.
No, that's very vague and wishy-washy, I know, but I have learned that is true. That is true.
It's not working.
Well, that's what I said. I can't put my brain on your brain. I can't give you my experiences. I can't.
Well, if experiences are the only way to come to God, and God
Okay,
doesn't
yeah.
give personal experiences to everybody, doesn't
gives
He
them to
just
everyone,
not love
but-
everybody?
He loves everyone, and He gives them to everyone.
Oh, he
If
does
people
give
don't-
experiences to everybody.
Yes, if they ask, if they seek them.
Oh,
Most people reject God. We both know this. Don't say I reject
so
God.
what do you make of
I-
all of the people who were born and raised, say, Christian, and sought
Yes.
out God in their moments, in their harshest moments, got nothing in return, and as a result left the faith? What do you make of those people?
Well, I think they didn't read the Bible.
I thought that all you have to do
I
is
think-
just
No, I think-
seek out God with all your heart.
Because I think that's the fault of religion. Religion teaches you to do stuff that goes against the
Wait,
Bible.
but they did what you said they should do, and God didn't answer their prayers. God didn't give them a sign, give them an experience.
But God, okay, so this is how it works. The God, if you read the Bible, you'd see. The God was, everyone was lost, blah, 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 years and years and years, everyone was lost. And then God said, fine, I will slowly but surely, I will show you that I'm real. And slowly over time, He gave hints that I'm real. Eventually He goes, I'm going to send my son. Poof, He sends His son. not his son, his word by flesh. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We won't debate that now. He comes to earth, he dies, and death can't hold him because he's sinless, and poof, he rises again. So his flesh cannot be held by the devil because he did not sin.
How do you think this is answering my question?
Because that's what frees us from sin. If we
That wasn't my question. My question had nothing to do with sin.
Sin is the whole conversation of God has to be about sin, because sin means...
I mean, that's not true. Was your your baptismal experience has nothing to do with sin. It has to do with the baptism.
It has to do with God and religion.
Yes, it doesn't have to do with sin. God isn't only about sin.
Because sin is bad, and you're bad, and you should feel ashamed. You're a bad person. Blah, blah, blah.
We're not talking about that. I don't know who you're arguing against.
The whole point being, and maybe this doesn't apply to you, but it does apply to me. I'm Irish. I was raised as Catholic, which was, if you sin, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, and everything's bad. And I was like, to eventually the point that you didn't like God, because you're like, fuck you, God, you know what I mean? Why you make me feel so bad? But God didn't make me feel bad.
Okay, well, how is any of this addressing my point?
Go back to your point. I'm sorry.
Yes, there are plenty of people who are born and raised Christian, who are generally good Christians. You know, they pray, they read the Bible, etc. Then something horrible happens. They pray, they reach out to God for anything, for even a hint of His presence, for anything. They get nothing, and they leave the faith. How do you account for that under your worldview, where you said that all you have to do is genuinely, with all your heart, reach out to God and you'll get an experience?
Well, I believe
that's what you said.
Well, I believe they're being hypocrites.
How are they being hypocrites? They're being genuine.
But how can you believe that God can move in your life and also go against God's word and ask him to do something that he didn't say he would do?
They did what you said they should do.
Who did what?
Which is, if you want an experience from God, all you have to do is seek him out genuinely with your whole heart. That's what you said that people have to do in order to get an experience with God. Some sort of divine experience. That's what you said.
Well, I said that's baptism.
No, you said that. I asked why I haven't had any experiences, and then you went on a tangent about how, well, in order to have an experience, you need to seek out with your whole heart, sincerely and genuinely, and people do that, and then they lose their faith.
Because that's what religion does.
This has nothing to do with religion. This has to do with faith.
Okay, fine. Seek God with our heart. Try it. Do it.
It happens to people all the time. Nothing happens, and then they leave their faith.
I don't believe. In fact, I know for a fact it's not true. The people
really? Okay, are you reading chat right now? Because I guarantee you that at least 10 people in chat have had that happen.
Can I finish? Seek out God with all their heart while also following what God said to do. He didn't just say, seek me out with all your heart, and you'll find me.
Read the chat. There are people in chat who are saying, yeah, I did that and it didn't work and I lost my faith.
But that's... I'd have to find out. I'd have to know what they did to comment on that. I don't know what they did.
Are you the judge?
No, God is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if they believe that they genuinely did it with all their heart and sincerity, and they followed the rules, and they still got nothing, how do you account for that?
They mustn't have followed the rules. I'm telling you. It's so simple.
So they just aren't. They just weren't good enough Christians, is what you're telling me.
They just didn't get baptized. That's what I'm telling you.
Show of hands in the comments. How many of you guys have been baptized?
Baptized means you hear the gospel, full gospel. You accept Jesus as your personal savior. You repent of your sins, and then you get baptized in water.
So many people have been baptized in the comments.
No. Christening is not baptism.
How do you know they're referring to christening? We're talking about baptism.
But people, that's why I hate the word Christian. Because people here use the word to believe in God as a Christian, which can mean anyone from a Jehovah's Witness to a Catholic, to a Lutheran, to a evangelist, to a... This nonsense. This denomination, this nonsense. Protestant? Nonsense.
We're not talking about denominations.
Like,
we're
there's
just we're just talking about baptism.
What I'm saying is you're using the word Christian, which is loaded, because it means...
It's not loaded. It just means somebody who
anyone.
believes that Jesus is the Messiah and rose from the dead. That's all Christian means.
No, it doesn't. A
Yes, it
Christian...
does.
In fact, my view of the word Christian is that that's the atheist's term, whereas the biblical term is believer. Or
Christian is
disciple,
literally the term that Christians have used to refer to themselves for over 1,000 years.
Then disciple is a real word. Real word. Disciple. Disciple. Yeah.
Nobody
better
was
word.
ever called a disciple except, the 12, right?
That's not true.
It's just not.
Jesus
It's historically, it's just never been the term that's been used to refer to people who believe in Jesus.
That is true. That is true. People didn't use the word disciple because the Catholic religion came in, poof, swooped up people, stopped them being saved, christened them instead of baptizing them, gave them all these traditions of weird stuff to do that they followed, and they thought they were believing in God, when really it turned them against God. So most people, when they reach 16, go, you're a fucking arsehole agency, I don't believe you, therefore God is not real. That's what kind of happens. Teenagers go Catholic Church, Lutheran Church, Orthodox Church, Evangelist Church, whatever. They see your hypocrisy and they go, I don't believe in God. And they reject God and they go off.
Is that what you did?
Life. That's what happens to people. Because
Is that what happened to you?
Yes.
It doesn't sound like you were a staunch atheist then. It just sounds like you went through a phase.
I went through a phase of
Being an atheist.
being an atheist.
It wasn't like something you actually rationally evaluated.
Rationally evaluated. So I was 16 when I stopped, and
Okay, so you did exactly what you just described. You got mad and you went through a phase as a teenager.
yeah,
Okay, so you weren't a staunch atheist.
for 20 years I didn't believe in God. But you're saying I wasn't a staunch atheist? Okay.
It was just a phase. It's not a phase, Mom.
Phase. It's a 20-year phase. Oh, no, yeah, it's not a phase. 20-year phase. I'm just in a phase for 20 years. What?
Could be.
I don't think so. Then we say, no, the point, and I see it in other people too. They're like, I asked them, why did you turn against God? And they're like, well, I used to go to church, what they call church. I used to go to church, and they were liars, they took your money, and they were blah, blah, whatever. They abused kids and whatever. And they.
Sorry, I don't mean to change topics, but I still don't think I've had an answer to my question.
Okay.
So I'll rephrase it. Do you think that there is no person who turned away from the faith after seeking out God genuinely that was actually a real Christian?
Do I think that there was no person who turned away from faith after seeking out God genuinely and received no answer? No, that's no, it's a silly question.
So then why is it that people turn away from the faith when asking for a sign? Why does that happen?
Because the next move is your baptism. Okay, I'll explain it this way.
I'm not talking about baptism. I'm just asking about what happens when people go through hard times.
I promise you. Through baptism, God can... you can receive the Spirit of God.
Is that the only way to receive a sign from God?
Yes.
Oh.
No.
Really? So you can only receive a sign from God once in your life?
Once? No, every day. Daily.
But I thought that it only happens on baptism.
God talks to me all the time. It's like...
That should be concerning for you.
Okay.
You're not supposed to be hearing voices.
I don't hear voices. I ask God something, and God replies. I'll give an example. But I'll find God does tell me stuff sometimes that I didn't ask. I'll give an example. I had to go to a meeting one day, we'll say a Saturday, and it was a group of believers who were baptizing people who may or may not have believed. That was fine. It was just to tell them about baptism. And the night before, I went to bed, went to sleep, and that night I kept having this recurring dream going 3:30, like 3:30. I didn't understand it. And then the following morning I woke up.
Sorry, is this another story? Like, what is the
No,
purpose of the story? Where's the goal? Where are we going with it?
Because God spoke to me. So the following morning I woke up and 3:30 was in my brain. And I just want to say that I
How do you know that was God speaking to you?
I want to say this. Because I went to the meeting.
Wait, hold on. How do you know that was God speaking to you?
Because where else did it come from?
That's just incredulity.
Yeah, went to gathering.
That's just incredulity. Like, how do you know it was God speaking to you?
My conclusion, this is how my brain works, I'm so stupid. My conclusion was at 3:30 there's going to be someone there who is open, whatever, be open for someone at 3:30. That was my conclusion. So I was there at the event at 3:30 going, yeah, there's someone there, nothing happened. Later, I went out to the car park and I realised my car was clamped at 3:30. My parking went out at 3:30. God was even saving me from parking.
Oh, I'm glad he was wasting his time saving you from parking instead of curing kids with cancer.
Explain my dream.
People have dreams sometimes.
Curing kids with cancer. You see, that's the whole thing. Curing kids with cancer. God doesn't give kids cancer. But
nobody can cure kids with cancer. He can cure kids with cancer, right?
Jesus can, disciples can.
Wait, can God not do that?
Yes, he can.
So why doesn't he do it?
God is a voice, a spirit.
He can cure people with cancer, can he not?
He can.
He cannot.
He can.
Oh, then why doesn't he do it?
People are the operatives of God. You don't
I'm sorry.
The devil.
So SpongeBob, if you had a big button in front of you, and the button said,
take away free will. Make
no, please. I mean, I'm not done talking, but if you want to interrupt me, that's cool. No, the button says, cure children with cancer. Would you press the button?
How would he do that?
No, this is a hypothetical. You have a button in front of you that when you press the button, every child with cancer, it's gone.
You're not...
It's a hypothetical.
It's like... It is a hypothetical. Because it doesn't
Can you answer the hypothetical?
It doesn't make sense.
What part? Which part are you confused by?
I'm confused by the part that you think that you don't understand why sickness is in the world.
It's irrelevant to the hypothetical.
But it kind of isn't.
No, it's not. If you had a button that could cure every child with cancer, would you press the button?
It's like creating a hypothetical that...
This is a hypothetical, yes.
Cannot apply to reality.
Whether it applies to reality is a burden that I will bear. I just want you to answer the hypothetical.
Okay. You're intelligent enough to know that word means word. You're also intelligent enough to know that it's possible that a human being has a soul.
Can you answer the question?
That God is a soul.
Can you answer the hypothetical?
Understand that word when it says that the devil is the God.
This is a cool deflection. Can you answer the hypothetical?
No, this is what the Bible says.
I don't care what the Bible says. I want to know whether you push the button.
Because you're not getting it.
You're right. I'm not getting an answer. I want you to tell me whether you'll push the button or not.
You're not understanding.
It's a very easy question. You either push the button in the hypothetical, or you don't push the button in the hypothetical. Which one would you do?
Who am I in this scenario? God.
You are you. No, you're you. You're SpongeBob. I don't know what your real name is.
Well,
this is wild that you can't answer this question, by the way. Like, this is like the easiest question to answer.
I know what you're asking. Don't say it's easy question.
So fall into the trap then. Fall into the trap. Fall into the trap. Fall into the trap and then defend your point afterwards. Just answer the question like a good faith Gary.
Because the trap is false. It's false. It's based on false
information.
Look,
answer the question like a good faith Gary and then defend your point when I spring the trap. If you know what's going on, then
because
defend
it's
your point
in
after you
bad
answer
faith.
genuinely the hypothetical. It's
in
super
bad faith.
easy.
It's in bad faith.
It's literally
Okay,
not. It's a
fine,
hypothetical. You can
fine,
defend your
that's
point
fine.
afterwards.
That's fine. Ask me the question again.
Okay. There was a button in front of you, and if you press
Right.
the button, all of the kids with cancer would no longer have cancer. Would you press the button?
No,
Care to tell me why?
because it's not possible.
It's a hypothetical. The button exists in the hypothetical.
Then no. Because
So
healing
you
people
would
is
rather
so
kids have
basically
cancer
God.
than not?
I would rather people. Jesus healed people on the streets, and that's how they came to
I
God.
don't, what does this have to do with
Can I take
Jesus?
it away?
Look. If I could take away children with children's cancer, I would do it because
Well,
I don't
someone-
like that children have cancer.
I'm not going to take away something a disciple can do.
You wouldn't cure somebody's cancer if you could?
I would let disciples cure cancer. I wouldn't take away.
That's
the
monstrous.
opportunity, but the reason
That's like that's
disciples-
monstrous.
monstrous. No.
Like you're telling me that if you had the ability to cure like a 6-year-old kid with bone cancer, you just wouldn't do it?
No.
That's
I'd rather-
like psychotic.
Psychotic, okay.
And Christians say that they have the monopoly on morals?
I'm not a Christian.
Fine. Believers say they have the monopoly on morals?
Believers
What the
say
fuck?
they do
Jesus.
nothing. You use Jesus as a curse.
Yeah, because apparently
Yeah.
he's an asshole. If people who believe in him act like you.
And that's why I was trying to say to you that your question makes no sense to me. Your question is upside down. Your logic is upside down. It makes no sense.
It was a
If-
question. It wasn't a
Yeah.
proposition. It didn't have any
No,
logical
it's
claims to it.
No, it's not true. What you're saying is not true.
It was a hypothetical. Questions don't have truth values.
Where it's coming from is not true.
Where
The
what's
debate
coming from? It
wasn't
was a
that.
question.
No, don't. There's a premise to your question.
There's literally no. Well, yeah, there is a premise to your question that there's an obvious
premise
right
on it.
answer, and you got it wrong.
Okay. What is right and wrong?
Correct and incorrect.
No, that's
You got the
mathematical.
you
What is
gave
right
the
and wrong?
incorrect answer.
You don't believe in God, but you believe in right and wrong.
Yeah,
Don't be a
sure.
hypocrite.
Yeah.
Tell me,
So in
what is
this
right and wrong?
context, I used right and wrong to refer to correct and incorrect. You gave the incorrect answer.
No, you said right and wrong. That's more.
Yes, right
Correct
and
incorrect
wrong.
refers
No.
to maths.
Right and wrong
not?
can refer to correct or incorrect.
No.
We say that somebody gets a
Right
math
and wrong.
problem wrong.
Is that a right and wrong mathematical answer? There's
Yeah,
not a
yeah, there
right
is.
and wrong
If 2 plus 2
logical
equals
answer.
5 is wrong.
Correct or incorrect?
2 plus 2 equals 5 is wrong.
Morality is
2
separate
plus
to
2
mathematics.
equals 4 is right. These are synonyms.
You're grammatically incorrect. You're simply, that's okay, fine, that's clearly.
You know what you're
that is
doing? You're currently
acceptable.
nitpicking my language because you
Grammatically,
look
it's
like
false.
a crazy person. No, you're absolutely nitpicking my language. You look like a crazy person because you said that you wouldn't cure a kid's cancer if you had the opportunity to.
No, I wouldn't, no.
Which it
defend
makes you
that.
look like why are you doubling
not
down on
doing
this? You should
that.
honestly at this
I
point
defend
you should pretend that you're getting a phone call and then leave because you're looking like a psychopath.
Because I believe in God. I believe in God, and the reason people initially came to Jesus was through healing in public. He would heal people in public, and that's how they believed he was really the Messiah. And if you take that away, if you press a button and everyone is healed, then no one will believe in God.
So if you saw a kid what if you saw a kid drowning in a lake? Would you save them?
Obviously, I'd save them.
Obviously you'd save them if they're drowning, but if they have cancer, no. Cancer kids don't deserve to be saved.
Because Jesus needs to heal people.
Sorry, when was the last time Jesus was around healing people?
I have actually literally walked the streets with another person and laid my hands on people and healed them through Jesus. I did. It
Wait,
happened.
so why would
It
you do
was-
that? Why would you do that? You would do that, but you wouldn't push the button to cure people?
Because if you push the button and relieve all sickness, no one's going to believe in God.
Wait, people only believe in God because of sickness?
Yeah.
Doesn't that
they're
say
not.
something about your
But they
belief
do.
system? That people only believe in it when they're suffering?
Well, you can't argue a person into believing in God. You're proof.
You can't argue a person out of believing in God with reason either, apparently.
Well, you can't argue a person to believe in God. You can.
I mean, I
post this.
probably agree with you.
Well, it's true. Have you believed in God any time that you posted this? No. So, has anyone argued you into believing in God?
No, they've been pretty. They failed pretty hard.
Because it's
But you're
not
failing the
possible.
worst because you're like the worst representative of Christianity that I've ever seen. You would rather let kids die with cancer.
I'm glad I don't.
Okay, then even worse. You're the worst representative of Jesus I've ever seen.
Why? What did I say that went against Jesus?
Because given the opportunity to cure a kid's cancer, you said nah.
No, you said press a button and cure all cancer in kids.
And then I asked you about a single child. You see a single 6-year-old with bone cancer in front of you. You have the opportunity to cure their cancer. You said you wouldn't.
I said I would act like Jesus.
All right, SpongeBob, we're done here. Space Boy Uno. I didn't run from the Elliot argument. He ran from me. By the way, if you guys are new here, remember to like the live, whether you're watching on TikTok or on YouTube. Also, there's a few super chats. Let's go over those. John Heigl, what's your opinion about theory God's ego death? I'm not familiar with that theory. Einz says, with $5, says, I love you, bro. You're articulating in a way that I cannot. Well, thank you. And Charlie's Digital Venture says, time to let her go. Nothing more to discuss with her. Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. You know, we keep her around as long as we can, but, you know, we can only do so much. All right, let's talk to Anita Bath on YouTube. Let us add her to the scene. I see what you did there. Anita, how's it going? You have some echo there. I've been gotten twice today. Anita, can you hear me? Because I can hear myself. Okay, Anita is gone. All right, let's talk to Kay. Let's add Kay to the scene. Kay, how's it going? All right, Kay's not here. Let's talk to POTUS the Gotus. POTUS the Gotus, you here? POTUS the Gotus? Looks like a no. Let's talk to Anita again. Anita, are you here? Can you hear me, Anita? Yeah, bro, needs a second. No, let's talk to Anita again. Anita, are you here? All right. Let's try talking to Kay.
Hello.
Kay, how's it going?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Finally, we got somebody. Can you hear me all right? I can hear you, Kay. Can you hear me?
Kay is here.
Okay. You have some serious lag. Are you watching the YouTube stream or are you listening on the website?
Ah. Okay, wait. Here now I can hear you from your. Yeah, I can only.
Great, you can hear me now?
I can't hear you. I can only hear your video.
Okay.
From YouTube.
Let me double check something. Audio settings.
I'm watching the
Audio.
YouTube stream.
Can you hear me now? Testing. Can you hear me? Testing.
I think I can hear you now.
Great. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Ah, amazing.
Okay. Okay. What do you believe? What do you believe? And how are you going to convince me of it?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not a native speaker, so here.
That's fine.
I'm
Your English
really
is fine.
sorry if, okay, thank you. So Willie, I'm sorry if I don't do well, and I maybe need some more time to understand what you're saying, and I will give my best to hear.
Your English is fine.
Thank you. So first of all, here. So agnosticism. What does it tell you? What do you know about that?
It's somebody who's generally on the fence. Do you believe in a god?
I believe in agnosticism. I believe in that I can't know anything about a god. And I can't know about a existence of a god. But you say that you're an atheist. And that means that you, yeah?
The topic of discussion is, can you convince me to believe in your god? But it doesn't sound like you believe in a god.
That's what I mean. I don't believe in a classic god. I believe that I can't know if there is a god. And
okay, so you don't believe in one.
Atheist.
Yes.
No.
But
no and yes.
Look.
No and yes. That's the point with an agnosticism.
Okay.
So because I don't have the here. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not interested in trying to be convinced by an agnostic to be an agnostic. So I'm gonna let you go. But thanks for being here. All right. Let's talk to Icon. Icon, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me all right, Icon?
Yeah, I can hear you all right. Can you hear me?
Great, I can hear you. Yeah. What god do you believe in?
Christianity.
Great. Just give me 1 sec. Somebody just sent $20. Flash, thank you for the dinner tonight. We bought frozen pizza. Cheers from Mexico, indeed. Right, so you're a Christian. So why should I be a Christian?
Well, for me, like from what I see, like for Christianity to be true, I see two things have to check out. So one is God existing, and two is the Jesus rose from the dead and what he predicted and accomplished. But I guess I'm more interested to talk to you about the first one.
Sure.
Okay. So, like for you, like as an atheist, you say God doesn't exist, right? So I guess
well, I say I've been
start.
convinced that God doesn't exist.
Okay. Okay. So I guess a good place to start is like, how would you define God when you say like you don't think God, or it doesn't convince you that God exists?
I would say some sort of non-physical mind that is responsible for maintaining or creating the universe.
Okay. So like a non-physical, like immaterial mind, basically. So
yeah.
You would define God. Okay. So I guess, and of course, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with the, arguments theists like to bring up, like cosmological, teleological, morality, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like for me, like what I personally find, I guess, to be a solid argument for God, or at least from my perspective, anyways, I like. Do you know the? Of course, you know the cosmological argument, right? But you know the Kalam, of course.
Yep.
And do you also know the other one, like following the Kalam, still in the cosmological argument, but I think it's called the Leibniz argument? Are you
I think I've heard it, but I don't know it by name. It sounds familiar though. Yeah,
I think it deals with the principle of sufficient reason.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
So like for me, like what I think is that like everything has a cause, and then like if everything has a cause,
you don't think that. Hold on, you don't think that.
Well,
you don't think that God has a cause, right?
Well, they were like, okay, here's the thing: for principle of sufficient reason, like everything like contingent like has a prior clause before it. So like if you can't go on an infinite regress with it, you must have a first.
How are you defining contingent?
It can be subject to change, so it can be dependent on something to change.
Dependent on something to change, and would you say that logic is such a thing?
Well, what do you mean?
Like propositional structures, rules of inference, are these subject to change or dependent on something?
No, I'm not talking about logic. I'm talking about like the material world, like just physical world.
Okay, so when you're talking about the principle of sufficient reason, you're talking about the principle of sufficient reason for physical things.
Yeah, but like for logic, if you want to get into it, I think it is also kind of like, in my views anyway, dependent on like an ultimate mind.
Okay, so you would say that logic is contingent, which would therefore mean that if you're going to use the principle of sufficient reason to justify anything, you would have to justify the principle of sufficient reason.
No, like contingent. I'm just talking about the. Can we deal with the physical side first, and maybe we'll come with the logic?
No, we cannot,
why?
because
Why?
I generally reject the principle of sufficient reason. I don't think it applies in all cases. Because I think we both agree that it doesn't apply to everything, right? And you might say that it only applies to those things which are necessary. Fine, but then you just admitted that logic is dependent on some sort of ultimate mind, which means that the principle of sufficient reason, which is a logical proposition, must depend on must be justified.
Okay, well, let's do it with logic then, if you want to bring it up. So for logic, right, you would agree that logic or rationality or truth, you or proposition, you would say, will exist independent of like contingent subjects.
No, actually, I would not agree to that. I'm a nominalist.
What does that mean?
I think that basically logic, propositions, inferences, these are essentially word games. I don't think that they exist outside of, human minds or minds in general.
Well, like I think a crucial distinction to make is epistemology and ontology, because I think epistemologically, yes, we do make logic in that sense, but like on the ontological level, I think that's separate from the epistemological
right.
side.
I don't think that logical propositions or logical inference rules, I don't think that these have ontology.
Well, why not?
Because it seems plausible that the notions that it seems like they're purely conceptual, and I generally am a physicalist. I don't think that concepts exist independently of physical substrates.
Well, like what I mean is, like, for example, like math, right? Like we make the symbols and syntax and grammars and stuff, right? Like that's true. We invent those, but I'm talking about like the truth
I'm
behind
aware.
it that plays.
I think that we invented math. I don't think it was discovered.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because I think math is like the symbols, right? We're talking about the epistemological side.
I'm not talking about the symbols. I'm talking about the notions, the logic, the concepts. I think that those were invented, not discovered.
I'm not. I might disagree if I think what you mean, because what I mean is that, like, are you saying that like the truth of math is being invented by us? Like for example, like 2 = 2. Did we make it true, or did we write the symbols to describe the truth?
Yes, we made that true.
Like when you say we make that true, like are you saying that
the notion of truth as it applies to those? No, the notion of truth as it applies to those sorts of concepts is a human invention, or perhaps an alien invention if they have a notion of mathematics.
But you would agree that reality is independent of us, right?
Yeah, reality, absolutely. Mathematics isn't reality.
Well, mathematics tries to describe what reality is.
Yeah, so does English, but that doesn't mean that we didn't invent English.
Right, so that's what I mean. I made the crucial distinction between epistemology and ontology. Like the epistemology side is the math, English, physics, like all these study fields we try to, describe
and
reality.
The ontology
reality
is physical
itself.
stuff. Ontology is physical stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean.
Math
like
is not physical stuff.
Yeah, math's abstract. I agree.
Right, I don't think abstract objects exist.
Well, what do you mean by exist? Like exist
meaning
being real, right?
I don't think that they have ontology in any sense of the word.
Well, I mean, for example, take the laws of logic. Do you think that they don't exist?
I think that no, I don't think that they have ontology. I think that they exist as concepts on substrates, on physical substrates. So they exist as much as Microsoft Word exists.
But like the thing is, like if you're gonna say that they don't exist like in any sort of way.
Well, they exist as concepts in brains. Like they exist in the same way that, like, when I'm thinking to myself, those words exist.
Right.
But they don't exist outside of minds, I don't think.
But the thing is, like, before human beings existed, or before any minds existed, would you then agree that truth, like there's still truth out there, like for example, the statement that there were no human beings on the earth was still true prior to humans being
There were no
being on the earth.
there were no propositions to begin with. And as
Yeah,
far
but
as I'm concerned,
you
truth
don't-
value is concerned with when discussing truth in like a logical sense, we're discussing the truth or falseness of a proposition. And if there are no propositions, there's nothing to evaluate the truth of.
But can you just answer my question? That is it
I
true
did.
that the statement there weren't? Well, I mean, like the question is, before there were any human beings, what was the statement there were no human beings true?
That I'm rejecting the premise. That statement didn't exist.
Before there were human beings.
Before there were human beings, there were no minds to conceptualize propositions. So the statements
true,
didn't.
right?
So the statement didn't exist. It's true because we can conceptualize it, but it wouldn't have been true then because the proposition didn't exist.
Well, the proposition doesn't make things true, right? You agree? The proposition is just like
truth is only concerned with propositions. Truth is not a property of matter. Truth is a property of propositions.
And proposition, you mean like what subject makes a statement about, right? Correct?
By proposition, I mean an object and a predicate, or perhaps a relation between objects.
Right.
So things like
so
things like the car is red is a proposition.
Mm-hmm. Right, and my point is that you don't have to make a proposition to make something be true. So, like, I don't have to say the car is red for.
So okay,
Sorry?
I think you're confused. It's not that I don't think there isn't a state of affairs of the universe, even absent minds.
Yeah.
It's that the notion of truth is, as far as I'm concerned, is a notion that applies to propositions. And so if there are no propositions, then there's nothing for which truth or falseness can apply to.
And would you categorize proposition in the epistemology or ontology side?
A proposition is a statement.
Yep, and a statement only comes from staters, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so my point is that regardless of the staters, like the stater doesn't have to make a statement for the ontological reality to exist. Like
I agree that like cars exist even if there were cars probably wouldn't exist, but like planets exist even if there are no people around. But the only way that I can evaluate the truth, the only way that I can evaluate whether that statement is true or false is because I have a mind that's capable of making that evaluation.
I agree.
Absent that statement has no meaning. There's no one to host that statement.
Yeah, I actually absolutely agree with you, but yeah, but you see right that what you just said, we don't have to evaluate. I agree, but what I'm saying is regardless of evaluations or of our evaluation, we don't have to evaluate or understand anything. That's epistemology. I'm just saying that the ontological
we're not talking about epistemology is about how you know things. We're not talking about how you know things. We're talking about whether or not propositions are true or false.
But you just said evaluation, and only subjects evaluate things.
Yes, that's my point.
So I'm saying regardless of if we evaluate or not, the ontology is still like.
I agree that the universe exists whether or not people are here. I agree.
Right. So
that doesn't mean that logic exists whether or not people are here.
So was that true that the universe existed before? Like all of those are true, correct? You would agree?
Yeah, because I'm conceptualizing them, I can evaluate that proposition.
Okay, but so are they not? So are they independent from you then? Because you just said that before human beings, the universe existed.
The truth of that proposition is not independent of minds. That there is a state of affairs, absolutely independent of minds. Sure.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll use that word, the state of affairs. So that's what I mean. Like the state of affairs that the universe existed is still independent of whether or not we can conceptualize it.
Sure. Yeah. The universe is there. We're just living in it. If all the humans disappeared, the universe would still be there. But there would be no propositions. There would be no truth. There would be no false. There'd be no truth. There'd be no false.
But you just said it was true that the universe existed.
Because we're here conceptualizing that proposition.
I guess what's going on here is that we have to define truth here. How would you define truth?
It's a property of a proposition.
I think I'll kind of disagree a little bit, because how I define truth is what corresponds to reality. I don't know what you think about the definition.
I don't know how you assign a truth value to like a car.
Well, like for example, what like if I raise my right hand and I said like I raised my right hand, like that statement would correspond to reality. So whatever is true is real, and whatever is real is true.
So propositions can refer to reality. The
Yeah.
truth, whether something is true or not, that only applies to propositions.
And it will have to correspond to reality, right?
You might define truth as, or you might define true as the property of a proposition when that proposition corresponds with reality. That might be a fine definition of truth if you want. I don't have like some ultimate theory of what makes a proposition true or not. But truth is a property of propositions. It's not a property of reality.
It's property of, but I mean, because I think there's two sides to truth. Because I think what you're talking about is the epistemological side, like the proposition, the statement.
Not talking about epistemology at all.
Well, I mean, like
I'm talking about what truth is.
Sorry, when I say epistemology, I mean like about us, about like the statement, about proposition, about the evaluator. Like only subjects evaluate, make propositions.
That has nothing to do with epistemology. Epistemology is the study of how we know what we know.
I guess I have to use a new word. Like, what do you call a thing that is all about us, of how we evaluate things?
I don't know if there is a word for that.
Like, it's all about the we, right? But I'm talking about the that, like the study of being, not the study of how we know or how we. But
I'm not talking about how we know. I'm not talking about how we comprehend. I'm telling you. I'm giving you a definition of what true means.
Okay, and you said truth is the property of a proposition?
Yes.
What do you mean by that when you say property of a proposition?
So concepts can have properties, right? We can have for example, the concept of quantum mechanics is complicated. That would be a property of a concept, right? And so propositions, being concepts, can have properties, and one of the properties can be truth, or can be true, and another property can be false.
Right. But I guess like you're defining truth as like a more of like from what I'm hearing for you, like you're kind of saying truth is what, you know, interacts with what we are gonna make a proposition of or a statement of. Like,
look, so depending on what your position is on, like, you know, propositional ontology, like if you think propositions have like real abstract existence, you would still hold my definition. You would just think that truth is now a property that applies to an abstract object rather than a conceptual one. Whether or not, like, whatever your ontology is or lack thereof for propositions, that has nothing to do with the definition of what truth is.
But well, I guess my question is, why would you define truth as a property of a proposition? I guess. Well,
that's like if we're talking about like rigorous, like you know, logical thinking, that's the only way to define truth.
But wouldn't false be?
You can extend you could extend the definition, by the way, and you could say, oh, truth is a property of a proposition that is that is held when that proposition applies or matches reality. You could extend it, but bare bones, it's just a property of a proposition.
But why can't you just simplify it to say truth is what corresponds to reality? Because
truth doesn't correspond. Like, okay, reality is like stuff. Is this camera holder true?
But it exists. It's in reality, so it's true in a sense that it is true that it exists. It is in reality.
But it exists is a proposition. That's not the proposition is the thing that has the truth property, not the thing itself.
Well, can you say that one more time?
Well, okay. Whether or not it exists as a proposition is a hard question, but for the sake of argument, we can just say the phrase "it exists," or, you know, this camera thing exists. That's a proposition, and that proposition is what's true. The thing itself is not true.
The thing. Then what would the thing itself be?
An object, black and white, you know, flexible. True is not a property that applies to just like things in the real world.
But it is in reality, correct?
Yes, we can describe it, and those descriptions can take the form of propositions that have truth value.
Yeah, and I don't disagree because, I feel like all you've said is just about the we. Like, I'm just talking about the object itself in
Okay,
reality.
you're confused. You're confused. I'm not talking about we at all. For the sake of argument, I could be a propositional realist and say that propositions exist as abstract objects, but that still wouldn't change the definition that truth is a property of the proposition, not the object that the proposition is talking about.
Oh, okay. So then you would agree that these things exist independent of us.
The objects or the propositions?
Oh, both, they'll say.
Well, I mean, I don't think that propositions exist independent of us. I think that objects do.
Well, so wouldn't proposition have two sides of like being affected
Yeah, they can be
by us
true
and
or
not by
false.
us?
No, I don't think that propositions are affected by us. They're just things that we make. They are, conceptual constructions.
That's what affects mean. Affects means being caused by or being made by.
If that's what you mean by it, then sure. But they don't have like causal power.
By causal, I mean like we construct statements.
No,
that's
I
what
know.
I mean by like.
I know what you mean. You said you were implying that they have to have some sort of separate reality from us, and I was rejecting that.
But because here's the thing I'm trying to link, like, because since reality is already separate from us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said like there's truth that are separating from like independent of us, like the universe existing. That's true. That's a truth.
That's a truth, but
planets.
it only makes sense when there's minds to perceive it.
Right, and the mind doesn't make it exist. That's my point.
No, the mind doesn't make things exist. Absolutely, I agree.
Right. So that's my whole point. Like, yeah, we agree then. So these things exist even though we don't have to.
But the propositions don't. The propositions don't. Truth doesn't.
But aren't the propositions describing what's happening though?
Yeah, the descriptions are conceptual. Right? Descriptions are conceptual things. They're not things themselves.
So why would you reject my premise when I asked the question? There was no human being. Is that not a proposition?
Sorry, what was the question?
The original question was like, before there were any human beings, was the statement there were no human beings true?
Yeah, no, because that proposition didn't exist.
So there were human beings before there were no human beings?
No. The proposition didn't exist. The proposition, there are no human beings, didn't exist. If there are no humans around, there's no humans or minds, period. To conceptualize the proposition, there are no human beings.
But I think that's not just a proposition. I think that's a description of reality.
So it might have been the correct, or not correct. That's the wrong word to use. It may have been an accurate state of affairs. That yes, it is a fact that there are no human beings, but that does not mean that the proposition there are no human beings is true. In fact, the statement is meaningless because there is no proposition.
Right, it is meaningless in the sense that there was no mind to comprehend it. I agree. Right,
there was no mind yet, and hence there is no proposition.
But there was still the reality of that.
There was still a reality of humans not existing. Yes.
Right, so it was true that there were no human beings.
No.
Then, like you said, well, if there were no human beings, is that true?
So it may have been the state of affairs, but the way that I use truth is in reference to propositions. And insofar as there are no propositions, there's no truth.
There's no propositions, there's no truth. But how about this? There's no propositions, but there's still reality. You would agree?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I guess it's just a semantic thing. We have a disagreement because I did define truth as what reality is, but I guess you define truth as what is proposition and how the mind can comprehend. So I guess I'm trying to reconcile those definitions of if you know, like
sure.
if you know, see what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think your definition is kind of nonsensical, but you can have whatever definition you want.
Okay, so I guess truth in my definition is just what reality is. Like,
okay, that's just like, not that has no connection then with the notion of truth as discussed by like logicians.
But why doesn't it make sense? Like, for example, if I raise my right hand and I said I raised my right hand, I would be true. And I would be...
The proposition would be true.
Yeah.
Your right hand wouldn't be true.
No. The action of me raising my right hand would occur in reality.
Yes, and so the proposition, I rose my right hand, is true.
Yeah. So as the reality that I rose my right hand as well.
If you want to extend the definition to say something like, you know, truth is a property of a proposition that holds when that proposition corresponds with reality, that's fine.
Yeah.
But truth is a property of propositions. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
Because it would be false if I said I raised my left hand, right? That would not correspond to reality. Like, does that make sense? Like,
the
I think that makes sense,
proposition
right?
would be false.
Right. And also, it doesn't correspond to reality. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that could be your definition. That could be part of your definition, that a proposition is false when the proposition does not correspond with reality. But it's still a property of the proposition. It's not a property of the reality itself.
Cool. So I'm just confused to what we disagree at, because like it seems like we agree, but we kind of have that middle thing that is kind of blocking our.
I mean, you were trying
here.
to make an argument, and I rejected one of your premises, so presumably that's where we disagree.
Because I guess we're stuck at how we even, you know, define truth here. Because
do you listen to Jay Dyer a lot?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it is interesting. Like I've never heard your position before, because to everybody I talked to, like nobody has ever denied the fact that or denied the definition I made, that like truth corresponds to reality. But I've never seen your definition before, so it's interesting.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll leave it there. I really appreciate talking to you. I'll consider, you know,
of course,
the conversation. But I really appreciate that.
All right, Icon. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take on another guest from TikTok this time. I'm going to alternate. By the way, we got... Oh, no, never mind. I already called out. Flash, thank you again for the $20 on YouTube. By the way, if you want to support me any other way, there's also links in the various places in the description in the link tree. And if you don't want to do that, but you instead just want to like the live, if we get to 100k likes on TikTok, or alternatively, if we get to, I don't know, let's say 200 likes on YouTube, then I will put my hair down, and people seem to like that. All right, let us talk to... Oh, we have a very, very special guest, for those who have been asking. Strap in.
Hello. As the real-life human brother of Dr. Blitz with authentic human kidneys and emotions, I am able to understand the process of posing a hypothetical question. As such, I am able to ascertain the correct answer to the question of should one cure all childhood cancer if one were able to with the press of a button. Another question I'm able to arrive at the correct answer to is why you should support the live on TikTok and YouTube. Hosting these lives is not his day job. He does this because he enjoys it, and receiving support from those watching is positive feedback that is likely to increase his enjoyment. If you wish to be a source of this positive feedback, supporting the live is the logical course of action. You can show your support by subscribing, sending gifts or super chats, using Cash App or other options like Buy Me a Coffee listed on the link tree in his bio. If you aren't able to subscribe right now, you can show your support by following the channel, liking the live, leaving comments, and sharing the live and his videos with others. Also, you can join his Discord through the link on the link tree in his bio to become a part of the community and receive notifications when he plans to go live. By joining, you can participate by suggesting new video topics and question how another fellow human being can get the wrong answer to extremely simple questions. I hope that I was able to use my extremely limited human abilities to persuade more of you to support the live. With that in mind, have a great rest of your day, and again, support the live.
I love that very special guest. All right, let's bring on another special guest on TikTok. This guest I didn't code myself.
Thanks, man.
All right, Team Theism, what you got for me?
Yeah, I think
Can
I
you
can
hear me?
convince you. I can
All right,
convince
go
you.
for
Can
it.
we pull up? Well, will you subscribe to me first off?
No free clout.
I've got some pretty good videos. I think it totals about 30 minutes worth of material, and it
No
sums
free
it up
clout.
pretty good.
Convince me with your words here, or go away.
All right. Well, do you believe that people were tortured for Jesus's name? Did that were tortured saying they believed in Jesus?
When?
Do you believe that ever happened? That you believe that anybody?
Yeah,
was ever
I'm sure it
tortured
did.
for Jesus?
I'm sure it did. Probably sometime between the 2nd century and the 4th century. Yeah.
Why were they willing to be tortured? Because I was threatened with torture, and when it came down to it, I wanted to faint. I was gonna
Well, probably because they believed it with their whole heart.
There's this movie called Body of Lies, and in it, Leo is talking to his buddy. It's Leonardo DiCaprio movie. He's like begging him, or not begging, just reminding him, like, "Hey, I would do it for you. You gotta, if they're gonna capture us, you gotta take me out, because what they'll do to you is man, they'll enslave you, man. They can do it. They can make
Well,
for
look,
days.
so you agree that like, you know, do you believe that like, extremist terrorists who believe crazy things blow themselves up sometimes for their faith?
Dude, that's not the same thing as like if you say if I go around telling people I believe in Jesus, they are for sure going to end me, and you know you're going to be ended in that way. We can't.
They literally chose to kill themselves.
Torture. So if even one person is willing to be tortured,
people do that all the time.
You have to ask why. And the other thing is
because they believe in it.
It's because they either saw Jesus's risen form, they knew people that were healed by him while he was alive, or their immediate relatives. Because those people lived.
Oh, I don't know if any of those people ever were tortured for their belief in Jesus, but I certainly agree that like there were Christians in the early days of Christianity, like in the first, maybe the first 200 years or so, that probably were. But these people almost certainly didn't know Jesus and didn't know anybody who knew Jesus.
We're talking about.
I'm not.
Do you believe that? Do you believe there was a man named Paul that believed in Jesus?
Probably. That seems plausible.
Do you think that he wrote the New Testament?
No. Christians don't think that either.
Christians don't think that Paul wrote some of the New Testament?
Oh, well, that's not what you said. Whether or not Paul actually wrote any of it, I don't know.
Do you think that Paul was willing to be unalive for his beliefs?
Maybe. Was he though?
Yes or no?
Do I think he? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
They say he was. That's the narrative.
Who's they? Where's the textual support for this?
I don't know.
So why do you believe it if you don't know where it comes from?
I know it's there though. I trust the scholars on it.
So all there is, so all there is tradition that holds that Paul was executed. There's no like evidence. It's just tradition.
We know he went to jail a lot.
Lots of people go to jail a lot.
That's true, man.
Yeah, we don't even know when Paul died.
But we do know. I'm trusting the historical.
No, there is no historical. There is no historical narrative.
There was a man named Paul that believed in Jesus and wrote the New Testament and passed away for his beliefs.
Well, but why should anybody else believe that? There's no evidence
and he
for
wrote
it.
These profound things that, like Romans 12:1 and 2. Can you make that up and say that's not?
I don't know
God?
what Romans 12:1 and 2 say, but sure, you could probably make it up.
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
It's too good. It's too good.
Wait, so it's Romans 12:1, verse 1 and 2? This is not good. This is horrible. Asking people to sacrifice themselves? This is horrible.
This is what 9/11 was based on. This is what inspired the 9/11 hijackers.
What? Romans 12?
It's like that's the level of disgust.
Wait, what are you talking? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just don't think that that Romans 12 is really like the pinnacle of goodness. Like it's telling people to sacrifice themselves for a God that they don't know.
What do you think about 1 John where he says that you should love your brothers and
sisters? Do you mean John chapter 1?
No, I mean 1 John.
Okay.
Which
chapter?
The children of the devil are and who the children of God are. That one.
What about it?
Hold on. Give me a second.
What about it? Okay, take your time. All right. By the way, in the meantime, Robert, thank you for the $2 super chat on YouTube. I appreciate you. Golden Mind, I'm not a Christian in my heart. Like, actually, I've never been a Christian. So it wouldn't even be a return to Christ. Like, sorry, not everybody's a Christian. Do you think you're the top 1,000 that was smartest people in the world? No, probably not. Do you ever read messages from chats during live? Yeah, I just did. All right, I don't know where he is. Fen Integram Arts, thank you for the galaxy. For 2 galaxies.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for having me on, man. I don't know. It's the Urantia book. That's what I like. I played over 4,000 games of chess. I listened to this thing twice. It's a 2,000-page book. When I was injured, I was just kind of laid up, and I played.
What are we talking about?
A little bit of some other stuff. I didn't like it. I never got into anything else. It's mainly chess.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, Team Theism.
Chess and the Urantia book is what I'm here to say that I like, and that to me needs to be read.
Wait, are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay, why are we? What are you talking about?
The Urantia book.
I have no idea what that is.
Well,
does that have anything to do with the topic?
Yeah, it was written by angels.
Okay, why should I believe that?
I'm trying to convince you about God. I apologize. Do you want me to still?
Well, that is the topic of discussion. Yeah.
Do you think intuition matters and how you feel matters?
Yeah, sure.
Something to take into account. It's not proof really, but that's, to me, when I look at the human race and the fact that we went to the moon and we've made these weapons that could destroy the oceans and destroy the planet, the core of the planet, block out the sun. The fact that we can master any animal, we can make any animal our basically pet. I mean, if we really want whales.
And what does this have to do with God? Oh, he's gone. When you leave the app, by the way, I can't hear you. I don't want to assume he's drunk. But should we ask? Should we ask? Have you published any papers? Yeah. Like a dozen. Oh, he left. All right, well, it's fine. By the way, y'all remember to like the live. We're almost halfway there. Almost halfway there. Almost halfway there. Do. All right, let's bring on another guest. Great. We have so many guests to pick from. Oh, actually, I should bring on a guest from TikTok, or from YouTube, rather. All right, let's talk to Anita. Anita, how's it going?
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm doing all right. What God do you believe in, and how are you going to convince me?
I believe in Jesus. I am a Christian. I don't honestly know if I can convince you. I know you said you're open to, new perspectives and changing your opinion. I don't know if I could do that, but I guess why do I believe in God? I think it's a good way to have a moral compass in the world, kind of. I don't think necessarily it's the only way. I definitely see both sides of the argument, and I could see how you think it's all bullshit. I don't know if I can curse on here, but
You're allowed to swear.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's good to have something to believe in, something to guide your morality in a way.
Even if it's not true?
Well, I mean, I believe it's true. There's like records of people.
But like, would you say that it's good to be Muslim?
I mean, I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think people can believe whatever they want. I mean,
But you said you think it's good to have something to believe in to guide your morals, and being Muslim would be an example of that. So you would think that's good, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Good. I'm glad.
Okay.
I mean, I agree that it's good to have something to guide your morals. I just don't think that requires religion.
No, I don't believe it does either. And I guess that won't really convince you, but I mean, that you're on your own walk, man.
I'm on a walk, man.
No, like you're on your own journey in life, and if that is your belief, I don't think you're a bad guy for that.
I would hope not.
No. But yeah, I don't know if I can convince you. I'm not too deep into Christianity, but I do believe, and I think if people believe that that's cool too, and that they shouldn't feel any kind of pressure not to. But I think, you're also able to explore different things and come to your own conclusions. But that's what I believe. I think there's
question.
Yes.
How do you feel about gay people?
I think that's cool.
But
I know the Bible says that it's not cool, but that's not really my place to judge. I'm personally not gay, but I don't think it's.
But like then it just doesn't sound like that's where you're getting your morals from.
How so?
Well, because if you were getting your morals from the religion, then you would get your morals from the religion. You would see homosexuality as an abomination. But you have some other set of morals that makes you think homosexuality is okay, in direct disagreement with the biblical tradition, right?
I mean, I think you could agree with both.
But if you say that you get your morals from Christianity.
Well, if I personally believe that being gay, that specifically, because that's what we're talking about, is a sin, then
at least you'd be consistent.
No, that doesn't mean that I can't accept other people who are gay, or have gay friends, or just like support gay people in general. Like,
Fem, thank you for the galaxy. I appreciate you. I mean, look, I know what you're saying, but in the Bible it says that homosexuality, a man sleeping with another man as they would a woman, is an abomination. It doesn't just say it's a sin. It says it's an abomination.
Okay.
Like that's like an abomination is something that's like disgusting.
Sure. But that doesn't, I don't see how that makes me like a hypocrite or anything, because if I'm not being gay or whatever, like
I'm not calling you a hypocrite. I'm just saying it doesn't actually sound like you get your morals from Christianity. It sounds like you get your morals from something else.
I disagree, but
at least on this one thing.
I don't know. I mean, I think. I mean, I don't know, because if I believe that I shouldn't do that, then what is?
But that's not what it says. It says that it's an abomination.
What's your definition of what's your understanding of that?
Something that's morally repugnant.
Okay. So you're saying, since I'm Christian, I should think all gay people are immoral and wrong, basically?
Well, let me be clear. I'm glad you don't. I appreciate you for being a decent human being. But like,
sure.
That is if you were getting your
accept people,
It says to accept people. It also says that homosexuality is an abomination. So it seems like it seems that you can accept, like, if you're sitting here saying, yes, it is an abomination and it's disgusting, but I still accept them, then you might be consistent. But I don't think that's your view.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, I don't know. You seem like the kind of guy who doesn't like look in disgust at people, at like two dudes holding hands in public.
No.
You seem like a normal guy. I don't think that you're the kind of guy that would do that.
For sure, yeah. I don't really care what people decide to do.
So
Like,
all
I mean,
I'm saying is that
I can disagree with like someone's sexuality. Like, I can think that it's against the Bible, but I could still be friends with them and still be Christian.
all I'm saying is that it sounds like that you have a set of morals that, like, I mean, the fact that you are okay with them and you don't think that they're disgusting and you don't think that they're abominations just makes me think that you got your morals from somewhere else. And that's good. I'm glad you did. But like consider this. Imagine that you are a person who the only book you've ever read is the Bible and you've never spoken with anybody ever. What morals would that person have? That person would probably not share your views of homosexuality.
That's fair, but I don't know. I think you can be a Christian and have grace. And
Look, you can, and I'm glad that there are Christians who are not like, getting their morality solely from the Bible.
For sure.
I think that's a good thing because the Bible says some nice things. It also says some really atrocious things.
Yeah, the Bible's pretty fucked up, but it's interesting to read, and I believe in it. Yeah, I don't know if I can convince you, brother. I don't think it's my place. I mean, I guess it's good you're fostering a discussion. Just, keep your cool. Don't be rude. I respect you. I don't know if I can convince you. But,
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for your time.
Have a good one, Anita.
You, sir. You too.
And this is a joke, Anita. I'm not trying to insult you, but Anita Bath, more like I need a good argument. No, I'm kidding. It's just a meme. All right, let's see if we have a guest from TikTok. All right, let's bring up Sonus Speaker. Sonus Speaker, how's it going?
I'm doing well.
Great, glad to hear it.
Now,
what do you believe?
I'm gonna warn you. I believe in Christianity.
You're going to warn me? What are you going to warn me of?
My English is, good, but not that good. I'm not a native.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay. So, I lost words. Please help. Yeah. You want to, like, what is your mission here?
To be convinced that my interlocutor's God exists.
Okay. So, you talked about how, like, wait, no, I don't know how to start this. Yeah, okay. So, before we existed, or before men existed, you think that we invented maths, right?
Yep.
So, how come that every single time or every single culture that has invented maths have come to the same conclusions? If that makes sense.
Because it's the same. I think it's roughly similar. I'm answering by analogy, by the way. I think it's roughly similar to the way that most cultures have come up with different names for certain colors. But like they still have a name for that color. Like most cultures have a name for red. Most cultures have a name for green. And so insofar as mathematics is a description, it's a language, I think that, well, if we're all describing a world that we share, you're going to come up with the same descriptions, maybe in a different way, but they're the same descriptions.
Okay. So does that mean that you use colors as an example? Do you think that we invented colors?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is it our brain that concludes that, oh, this wavelength of light is this color?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't see why we'd need a brain to say that, oh, this is red.
Well, because
of course,
red is an experience. It's like a subjective experience of red. Like, there is no red wavelength,
that, but
right?
Like, well, okay, so how come that you need one specific colored wavelength, or one specific wavelength to?
Well, my point is that, like, wavelength is different from the experience of the wavelength, right?
Yeah.
And so color is the experience.
So maths is the experience of what?
The reality, in a sense. Well, it's a way of describing the experiences that we have in a rigorous way.
Okay, so so before us, there was no maths?
Well, unless there were aliens, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna just, for the sake of simplicity, when I refer to us, I mean consciousness, and I am going to, like, yeah, you get me. So how what do you think the rules of the universe are? Like,
I don't know. I mean, they're what we call laws of physics. I view as descriptive rather than prescriptive.
Yeah, I guess so, because they've changed. Like, we notice, oh, this is wrong, so we changed them.
Something like that, yeah.
They follow a certain, yeah, like Newton thought, oh, this is how thing moves, but then Einstein was like, no, when things move very fast, it goes like this. But yeah, no, so wait, I lost my tracks. Yeah, they still behave the same way.
Yep.
No matter where we are.
Yep, I agree.
Like, no matter, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what determined that?
Why do they behave consistently? Like, I have no idea.
No. What? Wait. Why did I answer no to that? Yeah. Because, like, chance. Do you think that? I'm sorry, my brain is a little bit fried from hearing all of these.
Where are you from?
I'm from Norway.
Okay, so it is getting kind of late, so I can understand that.
Yeah, it's like 10.
It's 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
And also, like, these other people that have been.
Hey,
on
now
the show,
let's not
like,
slur other people. They did their best.
No, but yeah, they did their best, but I just kind of didn't follow through with them. Can you just ask me questions? I think that would be easier.
So you're a Christian, yeah?
Yes.
So, like,
yeah.
would you say that you get your morals from God?
Absolutely.
Okay, did you hear the
And
question
I
about
think that-
the anti-cancer button?
Yeah, I heard
Okay.
that.
Would you push the button?
Yes.
Okay, would God push the button?
Well, I think that when it comes to that question, I don't think I have the words in Norwegian, but I need to translate them.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's fine.
I think that for him, it doesn't really matter. No. Yeah, because after death, we come to him, right? That's my belief. Or either that, or we live without him.
So perhaps I'll change the premise then. Rather than just eliminating cancer, it eliminates the pain of cancer. So people might still have cancer and they might still die, but it doesn't hurt anymore.
Then
presumably, you would still press the button, right?
I mean, that's a little bit more difficult because without the pain, how would you exactly know that?
And let's be a little bit more specific. It stops the pain in the last, say, 2 weeks of your life.
Yeah, I'd press that button.
Yeah, me too.
Wait,
it's pretty
does that
plausible.
also- yeah.
Cancer's painful,
Yeah.
right? Would God push the button?
Yeah. The thing is that God, he definitely has some, but he can control certain stuff, but I don't think that it would be, I think that what God does has to make sense in some way, according to, because after my beliefs, I think that he wrote the laws of physics in some language. I believe it was mathematics, and I believe that it is mathematically writable. Maybe not from our descriptors of mathematics as we have right now, but in a certain language, okay? And I believe that what he does has to fit within them.
Well, but no you don't, because you do believe that miracles happen, right?
Yeah.
So why couldn't him pushing the button be a miracle?
It's... I don't know.
That's okay. It's courageous to say I don't know.
That's a very difficult question. And oh. I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's late, trust me. I've worked all day too.
Wait, where are you from?
Well, I'm American, but I live in the Czech Republic.
Ah, okay.
So we're on the same time zone.
Yeah, nice.
Well, how about this? I'm gonna let you go. Go
Okay.
go think some. I do these lives all the time. So if you ever want to stop by, if you've thought about it some, if you have a good answer, if you ever want to stop by and talk about it more, we can. Does that sound okay?
Okay. I gotta say, I enjoy your videos also. I love
I appreciate
seeing
that.
you like debunk stuff.
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure. What can I say?
Yeah. Anyway,
All right,
have a
Sonas.
nice day.
Take care, man.
Bye.
And good luck. Okay.
Thank you.
Am I coming back to Aotearoa? Not for the foreseeable future, anyway. All right, let's bring on a guest. He was nice, by the way, and I appreciate him being genuine and thoughtful. I'm gonna bring on POTUS the Goatus with a working microphone. POTUS the Goatus with a working microphone. How's it going?
Good, I think. Can you hear me?
I can.
God bless. Okay. I might have to go soon because my girlfriend and I are going to something.
Heyo, let's go.
I'm a Christian, all that fun stuff.
Cool.
I'm not 100% sold I can sell you on Christianity yet. But I want to know what your current position is as like an atheist. Like, are you an agnostic atheist, or are you like a hard atheist?
So I'm not really on the fence. I'm pretty convinced that there isn't a God. But like, you know, like I have some intellectual humility. I recognize that I've been convinced of things that I was wrong about in the past.
Okay. So what's like the reasoning behind why you're an atheist? If I could hear that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there's kind of a lot of different things. Some of them have like developed because of these conversations that I have, but like essentially, and I've been an atheist for as long as I can remember, by the way. So like, this is not like a new thing for me. Essentially, like I have some pretty strong priors about like the way the world is. So for example, like I have priors that like things that don't have bodies don't have minds. And the reason I have that prior is because all of the minds I've ever encountered in my life, you know, the people and, you know, maybe the cows or whatever, they all came attached to bodies. So just based off of my priors alone, it seems very implausible that there's like a bodiless mind that exists in some non-physical way. So that seems really strange to me. And then similarly, again, based off of my experience, it seems like any time that something caused something else, the thing that did the causing was like a physical thing. Like whether, you know, if the light turns on in my living room, it turns on because a physical light switch was flipped. So it seems like causation is a thing that happens between physical things. So again, it seems super implausible that there's like some non-physical thing that can cause stuff. Oh, looks like you gotta go, man.
No, I was just letting her know that I'm on a stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. I'll just go over the last one of like physical things causing non-physical things.
Vice versa.
Not seeing non-physical things cause physical things.
Yeah.
I think you can have knowledge of that from like an understanding of science and things like that. But like, I assume you never like directly gone and like observed with an electron microscope the like atoms that are causing wind, right?
Well, electron microscopes can't see the atoms that are causing wind, right?
Well, you know.
But
what
like,
I'm saying.
but like, we definitely can see atoms, and we definitely can
Right.
measure wind,
But I'm
and we can
saying
see that it's a physical thing.
I agree with that, but I'm saying you personally haven't seen the atoms that cause wind, but you would agree with the existence of wind, and that I'm not disputing that it's a physical thing, but I'm saying that like you haven't directly observed that atoms that make up the air that cause wind, right?
I would not with my eyes, no. But like,
And like,
it's not like eyes are the only way to observe something, right?
Right, I'd agree with that. I'm just using it for the sake of like the analogy.
Sure.
But I'd say you can still have the understanding of wind and of what it is and stuff like that. And I'd say from like a faith perspective and from believing in God and all that, it's a similar thing. Of you might not be able to like directly prove it, but you can have like sense-based experiences that then have that impact on your life, and that would be like a causal reason to have faith.
Yeah, so I agree that generally personal experiences are very compelling for a lot of people. I haven't had such things, so I don't have a good reason to believe.
I can hear that. It's kind of the sort of thing of like if you never exercise, you don't know that getting in shape would be good for you, or you don't get that feeling. But at the same time, once you do pursue exercise, you can be like, oh shit, like this works. I feel like to a certain degree, faith can be that way. It's very complicated, but I think that could be at least like a fair argument, right?
So perhaps this is just a psychological defect in me, who knows? But I find the idea of believing in something that I don't have any reason to believe in, that seems like a psychological impossibility for me.
I'm disagreeing with the premise of like not having a reason to. Like, I think there is a reason of like you can observe through studies and stuff like that people that have religious experiences and faith are on average like happier.
So let me clarify. I have a hard time believing things are true when I don't have reason to believe that they are true. I agree that perhaps having faith or having religious beliefs might actually improve your quality of life. But as much like even if I wanted to achieve that for myself, I couldn't genuinely believe that unless I actually thought it was true.
But like you said, like having a reason is being happier not a reason to believe it?
It might be a reason to believe it, but it's not a reason to believe that it's true. And I'm making the distinction here that like there's a justification for the belief and there's a justification for the claim. And what you're providing is a justification for the belief, not a justification for the claim. And I'm saying, despite how much justification for the belief there might be, I have just find it psychologically impossible for me to believe something that I don't have a justification for the claim.
I think it could be argued though that like I think necessarily believing in like all of the I've only taken fucking philosophy 101, but like the whole like I think therefore I am, like you can reduce all things to just believing like the only thing you can know is that you exist, basically.
No, so I believe it was Kant who basically destroyed Descartes' idealism.
I don't think he destroyed it. I'd say that there's still like people that don't believe in Descartes or in Kant's stuff. Like it's still disputed.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but like I'm not an idealist. Let's put it that way.
Well, then fair enough. But that's more of like I feel like that's more of a principled position than like an actual like firm grounded in reality one. Like I don't think you can necessarily ground your beliefs and your axioms like in reality. Like
I don't think that anybody can ground any axioms.
Right. So it's like that's the whole premise is like if you're believing in something and you're pursuing truth and all of that, I don't think people pursue truth for truth's sake, because that's just not what we're not like designed for that. Like we're monkeys meant to like live.
Well,
and
I don't
have
know if
sex,
that's true.
right?
I think that, like, why do you think a mathematician does what a mathematician does?
For sociological reasons and conditioning and all. Like, I think when you reduce it all down, I'm talking from like a sensory perspective of like our sense organs and all that are designed, and like our consciousness is designed as like a survival thing, if you believe in like evolutionary biology and things like that.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that we can't develop preferences for things, and some people's preference might be to learn true things about the universe.
Right, you can have that preference, but I still think that like on a biological level, like your biology isn't necessarily designed and like oriented towards that. Like your biology is oriented and designed towards survival and reproduction and all that. I feel like I've kind of fallen down a rabbit hole that we don't have to go down.
That's fine. Yeah, you're good. You're good. We can change topics if you want. We can switch back.
Yeah. But like, okay, what I was originally trying to argue going down that rabbit hole was like, I think the way you derive truth is aimed towards a goal, because I don't think you can derive truth without first having like some like premises and axioms and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And therefore, the way you choose your axioms dictates the way you like observe truth and observe reality, and the way that you select those would be preference based.
Okay.
And I'd say like I don't think you could say that your preference for choosing an axiom is based that like your. I don't think you can say that your preference for choosing an axiom to derive truth is to choose the axiom that'll best derive truth. Because that's like, well, what axiom would best derive truth? The axiom that would best derive truth is the axiom that would best derive truth. Like you go in a circle.
Well, look, so my position, just to kind of summarize, is like, I have a few different axioms that I kind of like, a few different things that I axiomatically believe. Like, I believe that there is a world around me, that I'm not like a brain in a vat. I believe that my senses are at least somewhat reliable, and I believe that, you know, the sun will rise tomorrow, right? Roughly put, I believe that the universe, that the universe will behave basically the same way tomorrow as it did yesterday. And so like those are like beliefs that I have that, you know, I derive from which I derive basically all of my other beliefs. But my motivations to form beliefs based on those axioms comes from my motivations to believe things that I deem as true, that I am convinced are true.
So I'd argue from like a axioms perspective that like the reason you choose those axioms from like choosing those isn't arbitrary, right? Like you are still trying to like derive an end by having those fundamental axioms.
I don't think I chose those axioms. Those are just things like just from examining my beliefs over the last few years, talking with people, those are just the things that I can't seem to shake.
Well, that's fair. Let me know if the connection breaks up. I'm having to take the dog out.
Okay. Oh shit. Holy fuck. Hold on. I'm sorry. I can't hear you, by the way. I totally neglected all of the gifts that people have sent on Cash App and on Buy Me a Coffee, so I'm going to acknowledge that while he's out of the room. So to do that, first we have Johnny Pockets with the $30 on Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah, my links to support you are broken. Yeah, Cash App is broken sometimes. And then from Misty with $100 on Cash App. Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Okay.
Welcome back, Godus with the POTUS with the Godus. What is your name?
Okay.
Is the POTUS with the Godus? POTUS the Godus.
POTUS the Godus. Yes. Did my mic sound change?
I couldn't hear you at all when you left the room.
Okay. You can hear me now, though?
I can.
Okay. So from like, if your axioms are just something like, so do you think your beliefs are something that are like outside of your control then? Like they just kind of are what they are?
I think so, at least to an extent. By the way, you are breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm on my headphones right now. Sorry.
It's fine.
So then from that, like, I'd say to live a happier life would be worth trying to like examine.
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up bad.
Oh no, is this better?
Yep, you got better already. You got better all of a sudden.
I gotta like position the AirPod output. Okay, there we go. So from like the perspective of just trying to live like a happier, better life, which I'd say is like where my principal goal comes from. I want to live like the happiest, most fulfilled life, and I derive all my other stuff from that of like living it as long as possible, all that fun stuff. Like I just want to have the best subjective experience. I've found that like having like a more spiritualized life has been useful. And I think there's spiritual practices that can be found that are outside of like truth-seeking behavior that in turn like lead to that outcome. And that I don't think you can necessarily find through those truth-seeking principles because like they have to be excluded, like almost like necessarily because it comes from subjective experience and things like that.
So I know what you're saying. So like I agree, like, you know, inevitably my goal is to have the best subjective experience. One of the ways that I've found to have that is to try to understand the world around me. That it is, you know, for one reason or another, that's something that brings me joy. And so as a consequence of that, or as a corollary of that, I suppose, it brings me great displeasure when I find out that I've been believing something that was wrong for so long, for example. Or if somebody tricks me, that is into believing something wrong, that is very disturbing to me. And so it seems like the way that I can... Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry. I kind of see where you're getting at, of like faith not like having that feel wrong or something.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think that like Einstein was like mad when like quantum mechanics was discovered, you know, and like all of a sudden
allegorically, yes.
Right. And
I mean, he wasn't actually, that's just the allegory, but yeah.
Right.
I know what you're saying.
Like I don't think that would be like a rational response that I would want to have. Like I think if I could have better mental control, I'd prefer to view it as like progress scientifically.
Yeah, no, like... I should say that it's not, I should rephrase, because that wasn't quite true. Because in fact this happened last year that I found out I was wrong about something, but that's because let me rephrase. When I find out I'm wrong about something when I could have been right about it, that's what's disturbing. Like if I made an evaluation with all of the evidence I had and then, you know, I came to the wrong conclusion, I'm not upset if I come to the wrong conclusion. It doesn't disturb me. But if I have all of the information and I still believe the wrong thing, well, that's worrying. That bothers me.
Then like what dictates that you could have, like, do you believe in free will or no?
I'm a determinist.
Yeah, so then like if you're a determinist, to a certain extent you couldn't have made a better decision, right?
Well,
like,
sure, yeah.
I'd assume from like a principled perspective.
Doesn't mean I can't be upset about it.
You can be upset about it, but I don't think it's something that would like, from the view set of like trying to live the most maximalized life based off of like, you know, living it to the fullest, you know, letting things outside of your control dictate your mental states, probably not. ideal.
I agree that it's not ideal, but it's part of being human.
That's kind of where I get at with like the religious side of things. I think Christians and just religious individuals have like I got into Eastern philosophy big, and that's kind of what opened me up to this like side of religion.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of understanding there is that the only thing you can change is yourself, and that like fundamental truth of like it being a part of life isn't necessarily what has to be the case, and that through pursuing what someone would understand is like pursuing a relationship with Christ, what someone would understand is like pursuing like oneness in the universe, whatever that would be, you can like escape that. And I think that's something that's like fundamentally, if you're going off of like the base principles that it sounds like you have axiomatically are kind of the things that lead to being able to have like a consequentialist logical outcome. Like I think by having those principles, you're going to almost necessarily avoid that whole mental side of things, because that's what makes it deterministic. Like if you
so to be clear, the axioms that I hold say nothing about whether a God exists. They say nothing about whether spirituality exists. It's just that the world is real. That's all it is, and that I can at least reasonably well determine, with my senses, what the world is like. The rest just follows from those axioms that I come to the conclusion that spirituality seems like something that that's not particularly convincing to me. That and well, all of the subsequent beliefs that follow downstream from that, they kind of follow from those axioms, but they're not part of the axioms to begin with.
But like the axioms themselves dictate what realness is. So if you set it up in a way where like you can dictate in a way axiomatically that like the definition of God doesn't exist, and then therefore
right, but my axioms don't do that. Right, all the axioms do is
so that's where we're disagreeing. I'm arguing that the outcome of those axioms would be like, so I think axiomatically, coming from like your perspective, I think it would follow that God wouldn't exist to a certain
I don't think so. I mean, let's consider a hypothetical world where God does exist, and I still and let's say that this God takes an active role in life. He visits every once in a while. He more than once every few thousand years, let's say. Prayers are answered, etc. In that world, if you had my exact same axioms, you would come to the conclusion that God is real.
Right, but I don't believe in that God.
No, but my point is my point is my axioms don't exclude a God existing. My axioms are like that's just not part of the axioms at all. Now, it happens to be that a consequence of the axioms that I hold plus the way the universe actually is does lead to that conclusion. But maybe that's just because the conclusion is true.
Well, not necessarily. It's a thing of like you're giving that definition of God, which isn't really the definition of God.
I was just a hypothetical. I was just saying that this is that the axioms that I hold are compatible with a God existing, right?
Well, certain definitions of God, yes.
I mean, my axioms are even compatible with the God of the Bible existing. Like there's no there's no contradiction there. It's the contradiction arises when you actually start looking at how the world actually is using those axioms.
But I think the perspective, like the way you'd come to understand the existence of God and things like that are separate from like how I would argue spiritually is that if I were to pursue knowledge and then to observe that God exists, and then therefore say like, oh shit, I'm gonna go to hell if I don't believe this. I better start believing this. Like, this is right now what I have to do. That would be like immoral and fucked up. Like, there's this thing that like exists that dictates reality and says that if I don't do this thing, this is what's going to occur. Right.
Is
And,
that the
like,
God that you believe in?
That's not. And that's kind of the whole thing of like,
Okay.
that God, like, I think a God that could be proven through observation of the universe, and still instead of like internal observation of your own spiritual journey and things like that, would be like an unethical God. And I think a God that like wouldn't align with
Why would that be
most
unethical?
spiritual, because I think like the Christian understanding of a God, or of God, is that you're supposed to pursue him, and that by pursuing him,
The Christian
you know,
understanding
you
of a
get
God,
to not
at
go
least,
to hell, basically.
yeah.
And I think that's unethical because, like,
But that has
if he
nothing to do with
controls
whether
the
or
whole
not.
universe and does
But hold
all
on,
that
hold on.
stuff,
That has nothing to do with whether or not you can figure out whether God exists from investigating the universe.
well, that's what I'm arguing, is a God that could be
You could have
found.
a perfectly good God that doesn't send anybody to hell, that also interacts with the universe and can be detected by real physical experiences. And
I don't necessarily think so.
That wouldn't be unethical. I mean, in a hypothetical universe, yeah, absolutely. Just have a God that creates a universe and didn't create hell and sends everybody to heaven afterwards, and then also interacts with everybody on a daily basis.
Suffering, right?
No, it's just a good universe.
But I don't think you can have solely just goodness. Like, I don't think that's a thing that can exist in this universe that we live in based off of like our observed experiences.
My point is
right.
My point is that it seems faulty. It seems like a mistake, in fact, to say that if you can conjure up any sort of evidence that a God is real, that God must be unethical. Like that just seems like it doesn't follow.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like a God that could be proven to exist.
I'm not asking for proof. I'm asking for reason to believe rather than not believe.
And then
like some sort of justification. Sorry, a justification for the claim. Sorry,
yeah.
I keep saying reason to believe, but really I mean reason to, or a justification for the claim, right?
Yeah, and the reason to believe that I gave is that you would live, statistically, generally, you'd live a happier life by having faith.
Sure, that's a reason to believe, but that's not a
justification.
I wouldn't say that's a justification for the claim that God is real, though.
The justification I would give is that when you look at spiritual practices generally, the thing that they state that you get from pursuing God is like a happier, more fulfilled life.
But that has nothing to do with whether or not the God, like you and certainly you.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I finish, please?
Yeah.
And then when you observe those people pursuing a relationship with God, that on average they have those outcomes. Okay.
So certainly you agree that all of the things that you do, or that people with faith do, they could do whether or not a God exists. And they could get those same outcomes whether or not a God exists.
Right. You can say that, I think, about almost anything, though.
I mean, maybe, but the point is that I'm interested in the truth of the claim, does God exist? I'm not interested in, per se, the benefits of believing God exists.
But that's kind of the point that we're like, I feel like we're dancing around a bit, is like the specific reason you believe things is that it gives you like functional benefit. I think, or that you should believe things, I think, is for functional benefit. Like, in general, I think most people would agree that like if you could observe like an eldritch monster and then you get the undeniable truth of the universe and then your brain explodes, that would be like a bad thing. You probably wouldn't want that.
I mean, there are some scientists who would disagree with you.
Well, we're not talking about some scientists. Me and you talking right now. We're talking.
I mean, all I'm saying is that there are things I would do. Probably not that, but there are things that I would give up for that kind of knowledge.
That's fair, but so we agree then that you would give up some degree of truth for a preferable outcome, like a preferable subjective outcome.
Well, the reason why is because if, I enjoy having the truth, having the knowledge, and so if my brain explodes like 2 seconds later, I don't get to enjoy that for as long.
You can enjoy the knowledge, but it's still
but
it's
only
still
for 2 seconds.
preferential at the end of the day.
Only for 2 seconds, though. That's my point. But if the alternative is have slightly less than
that would choose it.
maybe. I mean, but my point is they're like, I might prefer to not have as much knowledge if I get to enjoy the knowledge I do have for longer. For example.
So then, would you say that if you could have knowledge of a god, and that knowledge of a god would be able to like increase the amount of happiness and pleasure that you have in your life? This is hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
I know that like whatever, that you would choose that increased level of happiness because even if it reduces the amount of truth. Yeah.
So well, wait a minute. Hold on. Now you caveated it, right? So in order to have knowledge of something, you have to have a justification that the thing is true.
Right, we're not at that point yet. Like I don't.
Okay, so then I wouldn't call it knowledge.
True either. Right, like we choose to not have knowledge of the Eldritch monster. We choose to have knowledge of like a god, and both of those are regardless of the actual truth value.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I misunderstood the hypothetical of the Eldritch monster. I thought that this was like a magical Eldritch monster that if you talk to the Eldritch monster, he will tell you all of the true things about the universe, but then your head explodes.
Right. So knowledge of that truth.
I'm okay. So there's I think that there's like 3 states. On the one hand, you could believe a true thing, you could believe a false thing, or you could not have a belief about a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would rather not have a belief about a thing than have all of the knowledge of true beliefs and then have my head explode. Right? But
so you're fine not
I'm fine being in a state
to avoid.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want to believe a false thing.
Well,
I would struggle to believe a false thing. Well, no, my point is I would struggle to believe something that I can't justify, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying like if you could press a button, right, that says I will be happier no matter what, like just principally, I can press a button that would make me happier and I would believe in a god, but I don't have
Yeah, I would like if I can ensure that my life would be that my life would be happier, that I would be a happier person, I'd probably push the button. In the same way, if I could like if there was a button that would make me like 30 times happier but also like twice as dumb, I'd probably still push the button.
Right. So then
but like that doesn't mean that I want to be dumb.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you would be by believing in God.
No, but I was giving it my point is like I don't think that's I don't know if that would actually work.
Right. But I'd point to like a large amount of people that like you can point to the statistics of people being happier when they pursue like a faith-based.
But people are also happier when they have lower IQs, right? So like I don't know if that's like there could be a lot of reasons, a lot of correlative reasons of why people are happier when they have certain faiths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so is this correlative? Is it causative? Is the causation in the backwards direction? Like there's a lot of questions here, right?
Yeah. I think there have been studies that have shown that it is causative. Like you can control for IQ in a study, you can control for socioeconomic status. Like I think the general principle of pursuing a faith-based thing has positive outcomes.
It might. The question is why.
Well, I'm giving you that, right? But
maybe it does.
The why-based thing, that's a whole other, like, why pursue it, or why?
No. Why does it have that effect?
I think there's a lot of like practical things of like, I think psychologically, people. I'm giving you this from like a secular perspective, just so I can.
That's
like,
fine. I appreciate that.
I think there's like psychological effects of like, I think there's a built-in community of people that have faith. I think there's rituals associated with it of like going to church and things like that.
But then why couldn't I just have these without the faith?
Because I think in like in practical terms, it's just going to be less effective, because in the world itself, there's already existing infrastructure for this, and I think you would agree, based off the like IQ stuff we were talking about, not everyone is going to follow the most logical thing. People are going to follow, a lot of times, the emotional thing. And I think because of that, you're going to almost necessarily have, almost always, a bigger movement and a bigger base when you have something like that that's built around illogical things like faith, like religion, like stuff like that. And it's going to be more effective to be a part of those, I think, on average.
I mean, maybe on average, but averages often don't speak to individual circumstances, right? Like the community that I've built up, or the friend groups that I've built up, are very amenable to these kinds of like secular community gatherings and so on. So like maybe for me, it's actually fine. I don't need that in order to achieve the same goals or the same ends.
Yeah, maybe for you. I mean, if that works, it works. But I think it's a thing of like, I personally, I think it does definitely depend on your setting. I definitely do think it is more difficult depending on where you are and things like that. But I think even to a certain extent, there's still in those like secular rituals and things like that, a level of like bringing godly principles into it that would make it even more beneficial, and that like cannot be circumvented through purely logic secular stuff. Like there are things that have to be fundamentally, in a way, like irrational, maybe not illogical, but like things derived from faith, from things that aren't observation.
Well, not everything that's irrational is faith, right? Like for example, laughing at a fart joke isn't faith, but it's definitely not rational.
I don't know. There's some funny ass fart jokes.
I agree, but that doesn't make it rational.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, I think it's like you kind of get where my argument is of like,
yeah, no, I do.
Functional existence. Like I think the most optimal thing is that. And then I would also argue too that from like a perspective of like would you advocate for doing the most good you could in the world? Like, would you say that's a thing that like people should strive
within
for?
reason? I think within reason.
I'll
like
agree
the
with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, like the most good I could do would be take all of my money and donate it to a starving kid in wherever, right?
Well,
but I'm not going to do that.
Even there, because then you don't have the capital to create even bigger returns, and then.
Or how about this? Rather than saving any money, I should donate all of it, and that would do more good because I would save the lives of hungry children, right?
But then the kid teach a man to fish versus raise all that stuff, Like
okay, I would donate my money to build schools instead of saving for retirement. My point is that there are there are always
I'm
more
being an
ways that
asshole.
you can there are always
Yeah.
ways that you can be more altruistic. I don't think that we should expect people to be maximally altruistic, even given their circumstances. We should just expect them to be decent sometimes and just not bad.
Would you think then that like having a moral system that more people would adhere to than fewer people would adhere to would be like a net good?
No, I don't think it really matters where the moral system comes from, as long as it's a good moral system.
I think I'm talking from like a societal level. If you were a ruler trying to like enforce a belief system,
Why would I do that? I wouldn't do that.
well, you would do it because if you don't, then people are going to go based off their base desires, and anarchy would.
But we don't enforce a belief system now. But people
in
don't do
ways
that.
We do. I mean, like, no one has to follow the law, but it's enforced by.
We do it because we.
Crime.
Well, right. But hold on. The point is not whether you're committing crimes or not. The point is that people donate to charity. People don't kick puppies. People don't shout the N-word at people, even though none of those things are required by law. Right? People are still decent, and that's true of basically everybody, regardless of where their morals come from.
But I think generally those come from like socially enforced principles rather than like if you put like a 5-year-old in front of a 1-year-old with a piece of candy, 5-year-old's going to steal the 1-year-old's piece of candy. But then if you put the 5-year-old's parents in front of that 5-year-old, that 5-year-old's not going to steal the piece of candy, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. One of the ways that we develop our morality is through engaging with our parents and with our other family members and the society at large. Sure.
So then, just go I'm not saying this is what should happen. But I'm saying from the hypothetical perspective of like you're a ruler who suddenly is inheriting this like completely lawless land, but you have these enforcers that'll do exactly what you say, and they'll do it as effectively as they can. Would you think that you'd want to enforce a belief system that would be able to have more people effectively follow it, or like fewer people effectively follow it?
Well, if the enforcers will do whatever I say, then it doesn't matter how like in a vacuum how effective the thing is. I would just make them have the best belief system, and I would make my enforcers make it happen.
The enforcers are just enforcing the belief system. I don't know. Like get rid of
so like I would tell my enforcers to enforce this good belief system.
Right. But the way you design the belief system is going to dictate how effective it's going to be implemented. Right.
Yeah, so certainly what I wouldn't do if I was trying to ensure that the belief system that the people ended up with was the good one is I wouldn't say, actually, don't get your beliefs from me, get them from somebody even more powerful than me. Because then, if people believe that, they might realize that the belief system that I'm trying to impose is actually not what they should believe, and then they'll rebel against me.
Maybe. But then at the same time, like I think this is trying to escape the hypothetical a bit. But then also
no, I mean what I would do is I would say, yes, I am the ultimate authority. You should believe whatever you should believe whatever I tell you to believe. If the goal is to ensure that everybody has a good moral system, I would say these things are good and these things are bad, and nobody else's morals except mine count.
But that's not what we like. If you look at it from a culturally like
you asked about a hypothetical.
Right. Well, I'm giving you why your hypothetical answer is a bad hypothetical answer.
But I have enforcers.
Right. But depending on how you enforce it, it could be enforced better or worse. And
well, yeah, sure.
Rather than a higher figure at the top, it would be enforced worse. Right. Like
sorry, one more time.
Egyptian system. What's that?
The ancient Egyptian system worked pretty well, didn't it?
It did until a better system came along, right?
Well, I don't
Or,
think
like,
that's
if
what
you-
happened. I think the Bronze Age collapse happened.
Well, no.
And then the Greeks happened.
Right, but the system of pharaohs still were there.
I mean, the Greeks conquered the Egyptians, and they weren't really pharaohs anymore.
Right.
And then the Romans did.
What belief system did the Greeks have?
So
Did
the
they
Greeks
believe that
the
their
Greeks
city-state kings were gods, or did they believe that their gods were gods?
I mean,
But
they believed their gods were gods.
centralized-
But
they effectively centralized around figures still.
Right,
because
but they didn't win out because they had a better moral system. They went out because they were stronger militarily.
Right, but we're kind of getting a bit sidetracked. My
I
argument
agree.
there would be that a better moral system produces better outcomes. But as a ruler, you still want to enforce. You want to have a moral system for your country. Probably, you want people in your country to have morals, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So then, if you could choose a moral system, we're back to the same question again: that more people would follow or fewer people would follow. Which one would you choose?
More people, and so I would just make my people follow the one that's good.
Right. So we want more people following the belief system. Do you think
Yeah.
a belief system built off of emotional appeals and spirituality and all of those things would be more effective for swaying the masses, or less effective for swaying the masses than one built off of like pure logical deduction?
I don't think that you need spirituality to have emotional appeal.
I agree with that, but I'm through spirituality in there as like a whatever term, like
Okay, well, so I would say that I think that you could make a strong emotional appeal to some sort of secular humanist moral system, and I think that would be fairly convincing. Although if we're talking about a bunch of lawless, like, crazy people, then like, yeah, maybe nothing would convince them, except perhaps the fear of an authoritarian smashing down on them.
Right. So then if you're wanting to be able to, like, I'm going to have to get going here. And we're leaving at a part where I sound like a huge asshole now. Because I'm arguing for an authoritarian.
You're arguing for a theocracy. I knew it. POTUS with the GOTUS. He doesn't want to be POTUS. He wants to be Kingus.
Kingus the dingus. Okay. All right. But basically, Jesus is king. Fuck the atheists. You suck. God bless.
No, you suck. Thanks for being here, bud.
Love you. Bye.
Have a good one. Next colorology, indeed. All right, let's bring up the next guest. Remember, y'all, like the live. If you don't like the live, then you can't like the live. All right, we have... Let's bring up Nathan Buick.
Yo.
Nathaniel, how's it going?
Good, bro. How are you?
I'm doing all right. What do you believe?
I believe in God. I believe in the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob.
And Ishmael?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And why should I believe in that?
Well, it's kind of like, really if you choose, if you want to, I mean, I think God is great just because I know that God has been with me, and in tough times, God made a promise to me. He's made a promise to us, God's children, that this suffering wouldn't be forever, and that there would be,
unless you go to hell, right?
Unless you go to hell?
Yeah, because then the suffering is forever, right?
Well, I personally believe hell can be a place on earth, and also
isn't that a song?
Heaven can, yeah. I had a place on earth. Yeah, like your inner reality could be hell, or like, I don't know. I think if you sin, like if you murder, go rape, go steal, go lie, then like I think you just kind of live in the darkness, and your life is not. I mean, it's like, and in contrast, right? Like if you, I don't know, help your neighbor, speak kindly, treat other people's stuff as well as your stuff, like with respect, then I think you can live in the light.
I agree, but what does any of this have to do with God?
Well, God created everything. God created us. God
But I don't
created...
believe that.
Okay, so here we go. This is my attempt to convince you to believe. And I think it's something that you know. Like I think you believe in God, like you just don't know it yet. Like,
and I think that you're an atheist, you just don't know it yet.
Well, okay. Okay, so here we go. It's kind of a joke I've been working on, kind of not, but it also has some seriousness to it.
All right, here we go.
Okay, all right, here we go. So, like, let's say you go out to a party, or you go you go somewhere, you're having a good time, you're bebopping around, you drove there, and you go through the whole night, the whole day, and then you check your pockets because you're about to leave, and you go, oh my gosh, or you go, oh my God, you probably go, oh my God, like I don't know where my keys are, and you're freaking out, and you're like, man, I don't know where my keys are. You're asking people or whatever it is. And then you find somebody who has your keys. Well, yeah, I guess you'd say thank you to that person. But I don't know, like a first response, it's like, oh, thank God. Like do you ever catch yourself saying, I guess now I'm switching to a question, but do you ever catch yourself going like, oh my God, or like, thank God?
Sure. It's part of common English language in the United States.
Then why is it a part of common English language? Is it because there was never a God? Like,
no,
why
it's because most Americans are Christian.
Most of the world believes in God. Like, I think there's like what? Like
yeah, sure, but most of the world,
God.
I grew up in the United States, and so the people that I grew up around who influenced my use of language, those people were Christians overwhelmingly. And so my language was influenced by their colloquialisms, by their figures of speech.
Okay, that's true. So why like how long have you been doing this? I actually just found your account.
I've been doing TikTok lives for almost 3 years. But the religious ones, maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. Well, what was it before it was I'm an atheist? Was it something else?
It was like so I mean there was still some with like mildly religious tones, but it was mostly like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, like against, like flat earthers and the like.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, like would you ever be against asking, like, saying God to yourself, like, hey God, show me. And nothing.
In fact, it feels cringy when I do it.
Yeah. No, I feel you, bro. There's a lot of like misunderstanding about God, and I think, man, it's like it's a whole topic. It's like it's a whole thing, and no, I hear you. There's a lot of confusion. I come from a part. Okay, so all right. So I'll tell you another story.
Hold on. Do we need another story?
Yeah, let me just do one, and then you can shut me up or kick me off.
All right, fair.
All right, cool. All right, so I just started my healing journey. I was like 20. I'm 26 at the time, and it was like a year into my healing journey. So I was 21, and I was sitting on the bench, and I was journaling. And this guy came up to me, and he's like, hey, what are you journaling about? And I was like, just journaling about my year. It's been a tough year. Like, was just going through a lot, like dealt with a lot of physical pain and stuff. And but he didn't know that. And so I was like, yeah, I'm journaling. And he's like, okay, well, like, did you ever think about God on your journey? And I was like, yeah, like a couple people have mentioned him to me, but I haven't really given him the time of day. And he's like, Nathan, like, there is a God. And I was like, okay. And I started I don't know what it was, but I started crying to this dude. Like, and I had never really cried like that before. Like, I've always been kind of a tough guy or whatever. But like, that really opened me up, and I don't know, something in his eyes, man, just full of love. And he was like, Nathan, there is God, and I want to leave you with this Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:11, which is, the Lord has plans for you, plans to prosper you, to grow you, to give you a future and a hope. And I didn't know that at the time, but so I went off the bench and I rode my bike to the bookstore, and that was a Wednesday. And then on a Thursday, I'm getting ready for my senior year of college, and I'm shopping for mattresses. And there was this mattress firm right next to this church, and this church said young adults Friday night, 7 p.m. And my mom was like, that's a sign. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think you're right, you know, because I told her the story about this guy.
So where's the plane going?
Just hold on, man. Let me finish my story. Okay, so
are we like halfway through?
Yeah, just hold on. Just Thursday, that was a Friday. And then the Friday rolls around all day. I'm like, man, do I go to church? Do I not go to church? So I ended up going to church, get to the church, start crying again, sit down, right? And the pastor gave the mic to another person. And the first verse that the younger pastor who was training said was, he said, all right, everybody, please turn your Bibles to Jeremiah 29:11. And that was the day that I believe. Before, I was an agnostic, bro. Like, I really didn't know if there was. And that day was like absolute confirmation that there is a God. And like, I believe that it's meant to be, and that prophecy is unfolding as we speak. And
I mean, I'm glad that happened to you.
Yeah,
I guess. Like, it's just that does nothing for me.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'll leave you with, because I know you want to go around in circles, or you don't want to figure this out one way or the other, but there is a God, Dr. Blitz. There is a God.
Well, that's the claim.
And you'll know one day, you'll know. It could be soon, could be far, but you'll know there's a God.
All right. Nathan, thanks for being here. That was interesting. All right, let's bring up another guest. How many guests do we have? We still have a few hundred on YouTube. We have a few hundred on TikTok. Not guests, we have people in the guest box. All right, let's talk to a man named Ultimate Reality. Is that a type of Frisbee game? Ultimate Reality, do you play Frisbee?
I don't. No.
Bro, you gotta get into it with a name like Ultimate Reality. Anyway, what God do you believe in?
Maybe if I had a dog or something, someone to play with. So my belief about God comes from a completely different idea. God that I believe...
Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's kind of difficult to explain. I'm not sure. Hopefully you have the time. But I was a seeker, right? I was looking for God in different ways, and I couldn't find it in any sort of religion or faith. But thankfully, I was allowed more information. So the God that I believe in it's difficult to explain because there is no real word for it. But I guess what I believe in is that God is the only thing that exists. And this didn't come from my imagination or from anything else. It actually came from a context. I had a resource. Like, Christians have the Bible as the context of their faith and why Jesus Christ is God.
What was your resource?
So the book, it's not just one book, by the way. The book itself, the beauty of it is it doesn't say to stop here. It says to keep searching and to keep finding.
What was the resource?
The resource is called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And but I've also read into A Conscious Evolution by Barbara Marx Hubbard, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy, How to Know God, Deepak Chopra. So when I began, I didn't stop at one faith. I just, well, you know, yeah, I didn't like it either. I didn't read the whole thing.
Deepak Chopra is...
Yeah.
Vomit.
He's like Christianity. He has some good stuff and some bad stuff, you know, like just about everyone else. But most of my faith came from the book series Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, and book 1 is about God in the soul, book 2 about God in the world, and book 3 is about God in the universe. Because one thing that I truly believe in is objective reality. You know, the universe is vast, and there are multiple planets, there are multiple galaxies. That means there are probably trillions.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now I'm confused. Didn't you say that God's the only thing that's real?
God's the only thing that exists.
But you just said that there are galaxies.
Right. So, like, what I mean is that God is the universe is a molecule in the body of God. Is kind of how it explains it. But
why should I believe that?
Well, it's kind of difficult because I speak out of context by my own revelation of what I've read. But another question that I had for you is, what is your willingness in experiencing, learning, and expressing God on your own?
I don't know what that question means. Can you rephrase it?
What is your willingness? How willing are you in order to search and seek for God of your own means? How willing are you?
What do you think I'm doing right now?
Well, of course. Well, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say your whole life a friend of yours, let's say a friend of yours tells you about jujitsu, and your whole life you hear about jujitsu, you hear about it. Your friend says, "Oh, jujitsu is amazing. My life's complete. I'm complete. I'm the best. You know, it's the most glorious thing." And you have no idea, right, until your willingness to go out and experience and express it for yourself. Then can you finally know, this is what my friends were talking about. This is what jujitsu feels like. And I use that as an example. I'm a mixed martial artist practitioner, so I kind of revert to it a lot. But what I mean is that it's in your own expression, right? It's in your willingness to go out and seek it and find it, experience and express it for yourself. Hold on, I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
Sorry, I muted myself. I would consider this seeking.
By asking others, because one thing
that's how we learn things. We learn things by communicating.
Yeah, we also learn things by an expression ourself of looking, because
what does it mean to look in this context?
Like, you know, where does a Christian look for their
in the Bible? They read the Bible.
That's right, and a Muslim goes to where? The Quran, right?
Yeah, or an imam, or, you know, wherever.
That's right. So where does the agnostic go? Who doesn't believe in either the Bible or the Quran? Where would they go?
He talks to people.
Yeah, and what
which is what I'm doing.
People, yeah, those people really only know what they know. You know, I kind of refer to Christians as their cup being full. You've heard that analogy, right? How your cup is full, you cannot retain any more information until you empty your cup, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so, and that's the reason why I think most Christians have an issue with learning more about God, because their cup is full. They already know everything there is to know, yet there's so much that they miss. So,
okay, but that's fine, I guess. But why should I believe in your God?
Well, it's me telling you about it is really only a door opening to you going out and experience it for yourself. Because
if it's compelling, maybe I will. But you first have to tell me about it, about why it should be compelling, why I should believe it.
Because God is not something that can be proven to you externally, but something that is internally processed and experienced through you. And the books that I
just doesn't sound like it exists then.
Well, the books that I shared with you, Conscious Evolution, and Conversations with God. I'll tell you a bit how the story began. So, it's a story about this man who's had a hard time through life, and he's on the streets.
So it would be better if you just gave me an argument for the position rather than telling me the story. Because if I wanted the story, I could just go read the book.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's like the thing I'm trying to get to is, during your free time when you're not doing this, are you willing to read into the book?
If I don't have any free time when I'm not doing this.
Right.
This is one of the ways that I spend my free time.
Because your argument here is, can you convince me or to believe in your God? And that's really how I convince you, is getting you into getting me to read a book. Initiative, because that's exactly what a Christian would say, right? They would tell you to read the Bible in order to believe in God in their.
Well, no, I would like, if they come on here and they say, "Oh, I'm not going to convince you. You just have to go read the Bible." I don't want to talk to that person.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like I want to talk to people.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of the time you'll hear about a person's experience, like they'll say, oh, I was like the last guy who was on, so I was looking for God, and someone told me about this scripture, and it resonated with me.
It's very uninteresting when people tell me their stories.
Absolutely. No, I've been on here for a minute, and I can just see how you can get exhausted by all these different things.
I'm happy to talk about the universe and, you know, the you know, like the like a flood. Maybe somebody thinks a flood happened, or I'm happy to talk about, you know, proofs and evidences and arguments. But when somebody says, you know, I was feeling really down, and then a man walked up to me on the bench and he told me to read this Bible verse, and then I did, and I felt better. I don't care.
Yeah.
I care zero.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. I feel the exact same way. I'm like, I just roll my eyes, you know. So I understand where you're coming from. But when I was talking about the universe, so there are trillions of galaxies, correct? There are trillions of stars like our sun. There are trillions more planets that revolve around stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on those different planets, there's probably more than likely, given the sheer number of how vast the universe is and how many stars are out there and how many planets revolve around stars, we know, given our everyday experience, that a planet only has to be so far from its sun in order to contain, sustain, and maintain life, correct?
Yeah, sure.
So out of your guesstimation, how much life do you think exists in the universe?
I have no idea.
Right, but you know that it's a fact, right?
That life exists in the universe?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's life on Earth.
There's life on, that's right. So then we can kind of basically, you know, because it sucks how we have to use our imagination and fact together, but we know with the vastness of the universe how there is possibly billions, if millions or trillions of civilizations throughout the universe, right?
I don't know how many there are. I agree that we are not alone.
Right. You know, but that's why I was saying to use your imagination by guesstimating the vastness of how much life there could be out there.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to make an estimate without having good data.
Well, I'm not sure if that's possible yet, but it could be possible in the future.
Yeah, maybe in the future.
Right. So given, you know, a guesstimation of how much life is out there, and, you know, the testimonials of people who have actually seen UFOs and people who have seen, you know, alien life, because I've heard you say that alien life exists, we're not alone in the universe. Now, the way that the Conversations with God talks about life is that God doesn't only say that we are alone. God says that there is much life within the universe. And
that depends on the person.
Right. Well,
some people say that if alien life was found, it would destroy their faith.
Whose faith? The aliens or their own?
No, the people that I'm talking to. Like, I've talked to people who said that, yeah, if we found evidence of alien life, I wouldn't be an XYZ anymore.
Well, that's true. That means that they have humility and humility to finally say that I was wrong, which is, you know, something that could benefit society, humanity, to say I was wrong. Let's learn about what is so. And that's what I was saying about objective reality, is that there is life exists within the universe. So the thing is that in the book, it describes them as highly evolved beings because they are advanced and evolved.
Is the book talking about aliens?
Oh, not only, but it does talk about it.
Okay, so why should I believe that the book has any authority then?
Well, I mean, the difficulty is because I was trying to tell you that the title is Conversations with God. That's exactly what happened to the man in the author of the book. So
okay, why should I believe that he had conversations with God at all? Ian Raid, thanks Ian for the Ian Raid.
It's not something that I can prove to you, but something that you have to read into yourself. And I'm not trying to say read this book and you'll find your faith. I'm just saying that when I read it, and not only did I find my faith, but I was, you know, kind of thrusted into objective reality. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is incredible information that I'm able to conceptualize and then utilize in my everyday life.
I mean, okay, but like, you know, you should give me the argument rather than telling me to go read the book.
Yeah, well, that was the argument. Was that
the argument was that the universe is big? How does that mean God's real?
Not the universe is big, but God is the universe in and of itself. God is everything in and throughout the universe. And
why should I believe that?
Seen and unseen. Well, because it's a completely different context and spirituality revelation compared to religion.
Okay, I'm just asking why I should believe it's true.
And that's the thing, is that, you know, it's like why should you believe jujitsu is true or jujitsu is beneficial for you until you go out and try it yourself?
Because I could read a study and that has studied it and shows that, you know, cardio is good for you or something, right? You could just
prove my point. You can read into something. You can also watch a match.
Well, no. I can go do experiments, gather data, and show that it would be beneficial for me to go do jujitsu, for example.
Yeah, well, you know, until you try it yourself, like you said, you can read data, you can get all that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that you have to take initiative of your own, right? You have to.
I can just look up the data if I want to.
But you'll still never know whether you can do it or not, or if it's beneficial for you.
I think that you're mixing your metaphors here.
Well, it's just that the expression, the experience that you take of yourself is going to be your experience, because you can sit here and talk about God all day long, but until you have the experience yourself, then will you be able to, you know, get out of your own phone.
So am I correct in saying that you're not going to offer me like an argument?
Well,
except just go try it yourself.
Well, getting back to the universe expansion concept is alien life exists, right? They are technologically advanced, logically, intellectually, but
I don't know if that's true.
Well, I mean, like I said, you only have to guesstimate, right?
I don't know if alien, advanced, intelligent life exists outside of Earth. Maybe it does. But I'm much less confident in that than I am just saying that life exists outside of Earth.
You're more confident in that you don't know rather than you do know?
So I am much more confident in the idea that there exists some life than I am that there exists intelligent life.
But if there are testimonials of people who have seen UFOs, you can gather that
I don't believe them.
Traveled here. You don't believe any testimonials of people who have seen, even though there are thousands throughout the whole planet, people that have seen it. You're sitting there and telling me.
I don't believe a single one. I believe they had some sort of experience. I believe that some of them had some sort of experience. But yeah, I don't believe a single one.
And even if the military or the army, because even the U.S. Army, the Navy have taken recordings of it. People have taken pictures and videos of.
They've taken pictures of unidentified aerial phenomena. If they were known aliens, they wouldn't be unidentified. If
they were known aliens, well, yeah, you can't know because all you have is a video or a picture of it.
Right. So that isn't evidence of aliens. That's evidence of unidentified aerial phenomena.
It's not evidence.
Not of aliens?
I mean, sure.
It's unidentified. How could it be evidence of something if it's unidentified?
I mean, sure, we could have created that, but what about throughout all the time? I mean, there's murals in hieroglyphs that alien life has existed. I mean, shit, you watch the History Channel throughout the whole world.
The History Channel is not a good source of information, by the way.
I mean, yeah, sure, but what would you describe as hieroglyphs showing that there's life, you know, throughout the cosmos?
I don't think that that's what they were showing. I know what you're talking about.
Right. But so you don't believe this? Well, that's what my question for you is alien life intelligent enough to travel from their universe or galaxy to ours, or from their system?
I don't think that we've been visited. No.
Strange. You don't think that we've been visited by aliens, even though throughout thousands of years there have been plenty of testimonials that have said so.
Not really. Really, testimony only started in like the 50s.
I mean, recorded testimony, sure, but I mean.
So then how are you claiming to have testimony if it wasn't recorded before that?
Well, that's why I mentioned the hieroglyphs in ancient, you know.
I've seen the same hieroglyphs. They're not aliens.
I mean, how do we know?
Thank you. Well, like, it's pretty clear what they are.
Well, what I was trying to get to with that is, say that we were, right? Say that some, what's the word? Hypothetically, right? Say we were to put you in Elon Musk's spaceship, and he were to launch you to another planet, and you get there and you see that there's civilization.
I would be dead. I'd be dead before I got there.
Oh well, yeah, of course, because the time it takes to travel, I understand that. But what was it? Einstein's general theory of relativity was, and he even thought that it was possible to travel through black holes. I mean, we don't know how because we're not there yet.
He didn't think black holes were real.
Well, I'm not sure who it was. I mean, wasn't it? Because
No, it wasn't Einstein.
Well, somewhat. I mean, black holes are real, aren't they? Are they not?
They are real. We know they are real now.
And this is getting into the realm of science fiction because we haven't really found the answers yet. But that's why I was explaining to you how if alien life has come here, hypothetically, right? Because there are plenty of people who do believe in it, and there's plenty of evidence given, recorded evidence or not. And, you can say there's not or whether there is, but and that's why I said hypothetically, right? Because if I were to put you on a different planet, if it were possible for you to go to a different planet with civilization on it, and you were to ask questions such as, how did you get to where you are? What is your concept of spirituality, or what do you call creator, right? Because would they not have technologically?
I suspect that might be peculiar to humans, actually.
Until you go to another planet and they tell you their concept of creator.
Or maybe they don't have one.
Well, that's another thing hypothetically, because there are probably more than one answers, right? Because it's not just one. There are more than likely millions of civilizations throughout the entirety of the cosmos.
I don't know if that's more than likely.
Well, it's strange how you're an atheist yet you don't believe in really anything. You understand that life.
I don't believe in intelligent aliens, and it's strange that I'm an atheist.
Well, like intelligent aliens, I mean intelligence throughout the cosmos, right?
Why is that strange? What does that have to do with being an atheist?
Well, because we are intelligent, all of us. We've gotten as far as we've gone, but there's much more to go. So it's probably logical that there's much more life in the universe that is also intelligent.
Not really. I mean, like, intelligence has only existed on Earth for, I don't know, maybe 500,000 years, 1 million years, if you're being generous. And life has been on Earth for 3 billion years. So for what, like 0.03% of the time is how long intelligent life has been on Earth? It just seems that intelligent life is not the norm. Life probably arises pretty easily. Intelligent life seems very, very, very rare.
Well, depending on your perspective and where you are in life, right? Because like I said, if you were to go to a civilization and they have figured out how to skip through the universe like a rock on water, would they not be more intelligent than we are?
Yes, but what I'm saying is that it's unlikely that there's any nearby intelligent life, because intelligent life seems to be very, very rare.
Where we are, but, given
just in general, on Earth, intelligent life is very rare.
I mean, sure, but that's why I tried to bring you back to the idea of life throughout the universe.
So Earth is the, as far as we know, Earth is the best place for life in the universe, and even on Earth, intelligent life is wildly rare, right?
Well, you started off with as far as we know. Is there any more that we can learn?
Earth is super well suited for life, right?
Yeah.
Just look at the other planets that we've seen a lot of planets. Earth is better suited for life than like all of them. It's in the right place. It's at the right temperature. It has a large protective older brother in the form of Jupiter. It has a big moon to stabilize its orbit. Earth is actually pretty special. It's not unique, but it is pretty special. And even given all of that, intelligence only just recently arose on Earth.
Right. But that's why I bring you back to the possibility of life on other planets, because I said,
I agree. Life absolutely. I think that in fact there might even be other life in our solar system, but I wouldn't say that intelligent life is common at all.
Given as far as you know now.
As far as any information that we have, yeah.
Right, but we can always learn new information because.
Sure. But until we do, why believe it?
Well, I guess it's out there. But another question of mine is, can you convince me of your belief in your God? Is what is your experience and your knowledge of consciousness?
I have it.
Yeah. Do you
Probably.
believe that? Do you believe how far do you think consciousness exists?
I don't know what you mean by how far.
Well, we know that life and consciousness are one and the same, right?
No, I don't think that like an amoeba has consciousness.
Yeah, an amoeba is a form of life, and that is true. But Well, what I mean by consciousness is that never in a moment, at a time in our lives, have we ever been unconscious, right? Because there's no real such thing.
Anesthesia.
Yeah, but I mean, you've been asleep, but if you are dreaming while you're sleeping,
anesthesia is not sleeping.
Yeah, and getting knocked out, like someone hitting you in the face and you get knocked out, you're also not dreaming, you're unconscious, right? You get knocked unconscious. But at the same time, there was no real expression of unconsciousness.
You just gave an example. You just said when you get knocked unconscious.
Yeah, but you wake up, so like an expression.
Yes.
The more,
so you were
more
unconscious and then you're conscious again.
Yeah, but some people, while we're sleeping, we're still conscious, correct?
Sort of, but I'm not talking about sleeping. Being knocked out, being unconscious is not the same as sleeping.
Yeah, but like I didn't mean it as like a form of permanent consciousness, or like an expansion of consciousness. Because while you get knocked out, you're asleep and you're unconscious. But then again, while we go to sleep at night, we're not really unconscious, because dreaming is a state of consciousness, just a completely different way. Some dreams feel absolutely real. Right. So a lot of people, when they believe after they die, a lot of people, say that Christians say we go to our judgment. Most religions say we go to our judgment, and we're either judged, we go to heaven, or we go to hell. Well, if life is eternal and life and consciousness are almost, the same thing and one.
Why would life be eternal?
Well,
and
life
why
is
conscious? And why would you say that consciousness and life are almost the same thing?
Well, because as you revealed to me, an amoeba is life, but it is not conscious.
Yeah, so it seems consciousness is actually quite rare, even amongst life.
Yeah, given where you are. But what I mean is that when we die, are we still conscious?
No.
You're sure of
that? I don't think so.
You don't think so, but you're unsure of.
I'm not. I have high credence that consciousness ceases when death happens.
So there's actually a wonderful documentary on Netflix about people. You've heard of near-death experiences, right?
I have.
And what would you say to the people who have experienced near-death experience?
I'm not very convinced.
You're not convinced that what they went through is something other than what you go through?
I'm not convinced that near-death experiences really show more than what we think is possible.
What we think is possible, as far as like
our standard understanding of the universe.
Well, interesting, because there are a lot of people who've had near-death experience, and a lot of them share the same, the same story. I think it's kind of like if you go to a heart surgeon and you tell them how to do their job, you're telling them something that they already know that. So it's like we're telling someone else of their experience given our experience.
I'm sure they had an experience. The question is what is that experience speaking to?
Well, that's what they're trying to reveal to you. But if you're unwilling to listen or unwilling to believe in them, then all you're going to have is...
All things considered, this has been studied. My understanding is that this has been studied, and in a controlled setting, people aren't able to reproduce. People aren't able to accurately predict what's hidden, for example. Like behind a like this. So like in controlled settings, it doesn't seem to be a thing.
In a controlled setting,
I agree. There are a lot of stories, but I don't know how convincing that is. At least not to me.
How could you be convinced of someone else's story? I mean, it's a story.
That's why I would like it to be studied.
I mean, how do you study life after death? How do you study someone's...
Well, near-death experiences aren't death experiences.
I mean, I think the longest, the documentary is kind of cool. I think the longest the lady was gone for was an hour. She said she was dead, clinically dead for an hour. Her brain stopped, heart stopped, everything stopped.
If her brain stopped, she wouldn't have come back.
Well, that's what it should have been, right? But apparently,
well, no, I mean, like I've looked into this. Nobody's ever come back from brain death.
I mean, she was gone for an hour. I mean, I don't know whether to believe it. Of course, it was a documentary.
Maybe her heart stopped, but.
Yeah, well, and then there's the testimony of Christ, how he died after 3 days. After 3 days, he came back. And,
you don't seriously believe that, do you?
I don't know what to believe when it comes to that. Honestly, I do believe Christ was special. I do believe he was a prophet and Messiah. Do I believe he's the Son of God? I believe that Christ's words is that all of us are the sons and daughters of God. He says that, and that's kind of the cool thing, is the correlation between the book's Conversations with God and Christ's word. Because I don't believe in Christianity in and of itself, but I do believe that Christ existed. I do believe in the miracle stories. I believe in some of it, but not all of it. You know what I mean? I believe that's partly true, but I also believe that the Bible was heavily manipulated by those in power to seek control and to keep control. You know, especially during that time. You know, they didn't care about people's salvation; they only cared about the control that they could hold and the wealth and everything. Of course, it's incredibly difficult to prove, but you know, given
So yeah,
okay,
I mean,
sorry.
like this. There's a lot to say here. Unfortunately, it is 11 and it is my bedtime, so I do have to end the live. But any last words? I'll give you a minute or so to talk if you want.
Yes. That's why I began it with you know, the experience in and of yourself, and I gave you those book titles. I wish you would just give them a listen. It's incredibly difficult at first, but the more and more you hear it, the more it's convincing, because you're trying to be convinced about God. The more, my biggest obstacle was, there's no fucking way this guy's talking to God. There's no way. And then the more and more I kept reading, I was like, there's no way this is coming from him and him alone. It's not his imagination. It's not him only. This man's asking questions and he's receiving answers. And the more and more I read, I was convinced, and I was like, oh my God. So the book title is Conversations with God, Friendship with God, Communion with God, Home with God, God's Solution. The author's name is Neil Donald Walsh. Again, some of the other ones that he talks about is The Last Days of Earth and Conscious Evolution, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy. Wonderful reads. They do absolutely great for you. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I appreciate you having me, and I love what you do. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, brother. Take care. All right, y'all. I am going to end the live. If you're watching on YouTube or on TikTok, you can everybody go raid Justin from the Deconstruction Zone. If you're on YouTube, go look up just Deconstruction Zone. If you're on TikTok, look up Deconstruction Zone. He's live right now. Let's go raid him. Send all y'all over there. He's a great guy. Teammate of mine, colleague of mine. We currently host the Unapologetic live show every Sunday together with Ian as well. And I'll see you guys, I guess, on Sunday, actually, for the Unapologetic live. Take care, everybody.